and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, The John Kincaid Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome in early on this Thursday morning. John Kincaid Show on The Fanatic. Bradford White Water Heaters. Kind enough to bring you the 6 o'clock hour of the show, and we appreciate you getting in early today and hanging out for a long time with us, if you can. The off-season of contrived drama. I remember the week before the playoff game, and I remember telling Bob, I said, one of the storylines of this offseason is going to be A.J. Brown. It's going to surface that A.J. Brown is going to be – it's just going to be drama because of what was going on around the playoff game. Was he pissed? Was he upset? The idea of taking a $42 million dead hit sounds like probably the stupidest thing. How much did they take, Pat, for Wentz? Wasn't it like his number alone?
I think it was over 50.
It was a huge one, yeah. And I don't think they want to go down that road again. And I don't think they want to trade their best player. But I knew that this was going to be drama because what had been described about AJ was there was going to be potentially some drama this offseason. You're going to judge for yourself. Yesterday he was doing the media tour. So he did, Up and Adams with Kay Adams. And then he hung out with Robin Lundberg from SI.com. And he wanted to talk a little bit about what went on this offseason. And he did the media hit along with Devontae Smith. And that was really good for me to see right off the bat, Bob, to see Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown sort of, and at times, smiling, goofing, being there together, and doing this because that just that kind of camaraderie between them as teammates to me sort of warmed my heart a bit, especially after the crappy way that this season went. Show me something to smile about with the two of them.
All right.
Which was nice.
I'm glad your heart is warm.
You didn't like that, seeing them together?
I don't need warm hearts. I don't need kumbaya. I don't like that's, you know me by now. That stuff doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Go out there on the field and produce.
Well, they tried to explain to Kay Adams why things collapsed for the Eagles in 2023 season.
We got to address this because it's everywhere. Why does Twitter have this wild idea that you're getting traded?
I don't know. Maybe they know something I don't know.
I mean, have you heard anything about this? Is this like a media thing? Like, where is it's everywhere? I'm sure you've seen it.
I kind of been through this before. I'm a vet. So I'll remain quiet, and if something happens, I'll be waiting by the phone, and not, then I'll be right here.
I'm getting all sorts of messages on YouTube. Why would they trade him? They wouldn't trade him. That's so messed up. Media this, media that, because it's Twitter. Are you happy where you are? And I think people are pointing to this because they saw you scrubbed your Instagram.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with football or, that's me just trying to grow as a person. I'm just trying to, block out any negativity that I can. As you see, that's one of the reasons why, so.
What's one of the first of all, who is the media that is purporting trade A.J. Brown?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't either. I mean, this is a made-up narrative. This is a fake narrative.
Yeah, this just in. What's her name? Kay Adams?
Kay Adams.
Twitter ain't media.
That's what I was setting you up for.
Yeah, like Twitter ain't media. People can throw all that out there. Oh, the Eagles should trade him, this, that. I thought A.J. Brown handled it fine. I don't know why. What's Twitter? What's Twitter? Jimmy Jones, who lives in, Wichita, Kansas, is saying, how about if the Eagles trade A.J. Brown? Could he have squashed it a little bit better? Sure, he could have. And then I think he had a one-on-one with somebody at the Inquirer, and he was better in that one, saying like, look, it sucks that somebody had to take the blame, and Brian Johnson got fired, but we got to play better football. And he went on and said all the right things there. I don't know. It's like part of what has to come with a bad season is, all right, you got to answer the questions. If he doesn't answer them the way you want him to, I don't know. He ain't going anywhere.
Well, it's an easy way to answer it is, are you prepared to, Robin Lundberg asked him, are you prepared to catch passes for the Eagles next year? Let's listen to what he had to say.
See, he had nothing to say on it, so worked out perfectly.
Should
he didn't
be
even
number
want to
one.
answer the question.
Should be number one.
AJ, your name is out there a lot with people talking about, what might be going on behind the scenes, what the organization's plans may be. What do you make of all that? Is that just noise in your mind?
I've been through this before. I'm a vet at this point, So if something happens, my phone will ring and I'll be waiting. If not, then I'll burn my time.
But you're prepared, obviously, to be catching passes for the Philadelphia Eagles next season.
I'm prepared to focus on my family at home and get better in the offseason and just see where this thing go, It's chatter, though.
What? No, it's not chatter. The Eagles aren't trading A.J. Brown. Why is he making this? Why is he not just squashing this? Why is he not making... The Eagles aren't trading A.J. Brown. And, I mean, it's
so
like,
why do you need to hear him say anything? You know he's not going anywhere. He knows he's not going anywhere. So then
why not just say, are you prepared to catch passes for the Eagles next year?
Yeah,
I'm prepared.
I don't. I really don't. Like, this is a guy who's pissed off. He's pissed off the way the season ended. He's pissed off he wasn't able to play in the playoffs. He's pissed off that he came to a team that was 10-1, that went to a Super Bowl, then started out 10-1, and then looked crazily familiar to the team he just came from. And he's probably saying, oh, man, not this again. Not this, like I'm going to be on a mediocre team that people think are hyped up enough to win it, maybe to get to a Super Bowl like Tennessee kind of was. Maybe he doesn't want that again. Like, yeah, could he have answered it better? Yeah, but he's not going anywhere. Like, we're all feeding into something that we know is not going to happen. It doesn't matter.
Nobody's
what
feeding.
was it?
Bob.
We're sitting here.
Nobody's
Tom, don't interrupt me like that, okay? I'm talking. Like,
all right, here we go.
I don't.
Here we go.
All right, well, go ahead, John.
I'm saying is nobody's feeding into it.
You started the show with it
because it's
nobody's feeding into it.
It's him answering. I'm not feeding into it. I said flat out 3 times at the start of the show that nobody is trading A.J. Brown. Nobody's feeding into it. He has a chance to end it. Nobody from the Eagles is feeding into it. None of the local media that he depicts as talking about it is feeding into it. Nobody's saying the Eagles are trading him. This isn't hard. Everybody is saying this isn't happening. The only person who isn't saying that is A.J. Brown. And he's got his chance to just say it. Just say the words. Why do you want the drama? Why do you want to create the drama or feed into the drama? I don't understand it. I don't understand why you don't just squelch something. And if he's pissed off, then good. Come back next year and be pissed off. I think he was arguably their best player. So, I mean, nobody's saying trade A.J. Brown. There's this is a fake narrative and nobody's feeding into it. Nor am I saying there's not trading A.J. Brown. This isn't a story. But he's making it a story. You have a chance to end this thing. And I don't know why you just don't end it. Because this is what wide receivers do. At times. They just want to, I guess this is a story he wants to keep alive somehow. Devontae Smith laughed at it. Devontae Smith said, hey, it's about what is Kellen Moore going to do for us? They're laughing. What is it going to be? And there was some advice asked. What is the advice that is being given to Kellen Moore regarding being the new offensive coordinator?
Okay, if you could have one wish and say, Kellen Moore, this is what I need for next season. This is what I want you to bring into this locker room, bring to this offense. What would that be?
Just let us do what we do.
What does that mean?
like anybody else, let's say, just give us the ball.
Just give us the ball. I love Devontae Smith's just lightness. They're all trying to get past this. This sucked. This was a terrible, terrible ending. And I love the message to Kellen Moore. Hey, Kellen, just get us the ball. No complex answers.
Yeah, and he does a one-on-one with Olivia Rayner from the Inquirer. And he says, look, we wouldn't be where we were if it wasn't for Nick Sirianni. He's a great teacher, a great coach, a great person. Me, I don't have any doubt. I don't think the team has any doubt. I think it was just Philly media, fans or whatever. They just have the question because it didn't end the way we all would like. Like, those are good things.
The Philly media did this? Again, what did the Philly media do? So in the 1-6. What part did the Philly media play in what the worst collapse of a 10-1 team ever in the history of the NFL? When I hear the media being blamed for it, I'm like, what is the problem? Like, the media didn't do anything. The defensive coordinator didn't do his job. The offensive coordinator didn't do his job. The players acted as disinterested as possible. All you're left to do is, as a fan, as a media member, as a season ticket holder, as whatever it is to speculate on what the hell went wrong with this team. And how did it happen? How did it ever happen? And that's what I can't understand.
Well, he says sometimes you go through adversity. Sometimes some stuff is just not meant for you at that right time, and you just got to weather that storm. You can't let your confidence waver either. I haven't seen his confidence waver, meaning Sirianni, and my confidence definitely has not wavered. Sounds like a guy that's coming back to me. Everything's fine.
Well, that's Devontae. Does that make you feel better?
No, it's not. That's A.J. Brown.
No, but I mean, it's not in the paper. Is that what Devontae said, though? Does that make you feel better?
What Devontae said?
Yeah. Does it make you feel like as far as the answer to is that where this team is as far as moving forward with Nick Sirianni? Are they in a good position? Are they like I hear it. They didn't play for the guy. They didn't play hard for him. They didn't play smart for him. They didn't. And so if it's not Nick Sirianni's blame, then the blame's on the players as far as that. I mean, who's taking Pat? It seems like everybody's in support of Nick Sirianni, but the job that he did, I don't understand what they're supporting.
I can't quite figure it out either. I just don't think they want to throw the guy under the bus because he's their current head coach. That's the only logic I can come up with. They don't want to throw him under the bus because they're going to have to work with him. But if he was fired, I think you'd have a different tune. I mean, right now they're saying all the right things.
You think we get the real story?
Yeah. How could they not? Like, we're hearing the same crap. They ran out of time, and every week it was the same. Oh, we're running out of time. We got to fix it. Never happened. What does that go to? If you have a CEO and your stock price is $15, and then fast forward a couple months and it's 85 cents, who are we blaming here? Are we blaming the workers? Are we blaming the local managers? No, you're probably blaming the CEO and going, what stupid decisions did you make where your stock price just tanked? So I'm looking at Nick Sirianni, but the workers in-house aren't going to sit there and go, oh, yeah, no, it's at the top publicly. But internally, I think, they'll probably sit there going like, what is up with this guy?
I'm not hearing I'm not believing the message that I'm hearing. Like, I'm just not believing that it's it's okay. Nick Sirianni's a great teacher, great leader. We're fine. We're going to bounce back and we're going to be strong, because it was such a tailspin. It was 2 months of just unadulterated crap, and they didn't fix it. They told us they were going to fix it. They told us they were going to come together. They told us they were going to work harder, whatever it was going to be. And then they just didn't do it. But for some reason, they're all in the boat. And it might be Pat's explanation, I think, might be the best, is that you can't throw the guy under the bus. He's going to be your leader. He's going to be the guy you're counting on this year.
What good does it do you? I mean, people are going on about what he said on some of those shows. What if he then threw the coach under the bus? Then it's a whole firestorm.
Oh, that is crazy.
Look, nobody's happy in that organization, and that's not going to subside after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month. It's going to last, and those memories are fresh. You got to give them time. Let them get away. I know it's our job but they need to mentally just get away from what happened and start anew. And A.J. Brown later in the story that I was reading went on to say, I start working out pretty soon to get ready for the season. Once this knee is healed, I start pretty soon getting ready for next season. And next season, I'm going to be better than ever. All right, that's good. I want to hear that. That's
I like
what
hearing that
hear.
too.
Yeah,
I think he was their best. He was arguably their best player this year, because I can't think of anybody on the defensive side of the ball that I would even nominate. And even though Slay and Hurts are somehow going to the what is it, horseshoes dodgeball this weekend down in Orlando.
Oh, they're having like a little skills thing?
Yeah, it's the Pro Bowl.
Oh, that sounds fun.
But they do like horseshoes and
it was like dodgeball.
They're playing dodgeball.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
And Jalen Hurts is going to participate, by the way.
Good for him.
He's going to get out there, hopefully be able to move around and everything. I'd rather see these. It's just we're hearing all the kumbaya messages. We're hearing all the things. I wondered who had the message when they were 1-6 down the stretch, and what I'm now convinced. And Bob, where it's at is I'm convinced we're never going to get the story now, because that, no, everything was fine. We just faced adversity. Well, it didn't seem fine. It certainly didn't seem the way the things went down. It didn't seem like it was something that was either easy for them to handle or something that we should just brush off as, yeah, it'll be fine.
No, I think we have the story. And I think it's, like I said earlier this week, I think it's been played out because of all the hirings they're doing for this coaching staff. I think immediately going out and getting not only offensive and defensive coordinators, but then lining up a slew of other coaches that you're bringing in here, I think that's where it is. Like we said, you can't fire players. We all know that. They're going out of their way to pick up defensive line coaches and secondary coaches besides offensive and defensive coordinators. I think there's the story right there.
And they got their work cut out for them. And we're going to find out, too, in the draft. We talked about it yesterday with all the players that are coming in the draft. We talked about the amount of players that are going to have to probably be brought in here, new bodies. And one of the things that you can, when you read a little bit more about what's going on with the defenses of Vic Fangio, he loves to be able to teach. And a lot of times, old dogs, he had said it in Denver, there are some old dogs who don't like new tricks. So young guys is sort of would tell me that's the direction they're going to go. And he's going to then worry about the young guys that are on this roster. Because if he doesn't get, again, we talked about it, with Davis, with Carter, with those young players, if he doesn't get the most out of the young players they even already have, this thing isn't going to hunt.
Yeah, I think that's my top priority. I got to get those two fixed right away, find out what's going on with them, what happened with them last year, and then move forward. But, yeah, that's my first question coming in. If somebody said to me, Mr. Fangio, come over here, please. I'm your secretary. What's your first line of business today? Get me that Carter and Davis kid on the phone and have them in my office tomorrow.
Do you think the DC gets a secretary? I would think that'd be like if does Kellen Moore get his own little? Does he get his own little assistant and stuff like that? I wonder about that. I wonder if these people.
It's Nick Sirianni.
Pat,
did I say that? Was my mic on?
Pat, you said that out. Pat, you've now been booked for Kay Adams' show.
My bad. Sorry about that.
You're now on Kay Adams' show at 8 o'clock, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind that.
Sometimes I just leave my mic on and
you forgot.
Just say things out loud.
It happens.
Apologies.
I wish more was coming from the Eagles too, but that's where we're at there, and we will find out with where the Eagles continue to move on. But again, no one in the Philly media is saying get rid of A.J. Brown. The Eagles organization isn't saying get rid of A.J. Brown. This is a contrived narrative completely. Nobody wants to see the Eagles' best player traded. I wouldn't think, and I wouldn't think you could do it with the $42 million cap hit. It would just be stupid to even bring it up. And if he read something on, I got some people here saying, well, other sports radio stations were talking about it. Then all I can say is that that is not media. That is not media saying trade him. That is not is would you trade him? Do you want to trade him? I wouldn't want to trade the best player in the locker room. You want to get in with a 610-632-0975. I'm hoping that maybe we can hack into a medical system and find out a little bit more about an MRI that went down. Or did it go down? John Kincaid Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic.
thefanatic.com.
Hopefully you are going to be with us tomorrow for First Friday. You're going to have a good crew tomorrow. Breakfast will be provided by Embers Smokehouse and Tap in Chalfont, PA, with the best in smoked meats, comfort foods, cold brews. Visit Embers Smokehouse and Tap.com. Pat, you already have a breakfast thought in mind tomorrow?
It's the only reason I show up for that show.
All I heard was cold brews.
Yeah.
I don't
Gonna be
think
part
they're
of it.
Something for everybody, Bobby.
There we go.
I don't think Embers is bringing the
I think
beer.
that'd make for a fun show. I'm not going to deny it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it would.
You know,
I
want to be team players?
I think it would. We'll see if the crew from Embers maybe slips in a little of that. You
Bring
never
Bobby.
ever
have
know.
you eaten there, Pat? I thought I've heard you mention that place before.
It's incredible.
Okay.
Oh, it's great.
Little burn ends.
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't like a little burn ends?
Got to enjoy it.
Brisket and whatnot.
Hopefully, again,
Meats.
By the way, and again, I want to thank who just tweeted. I want to make sure I give you your proper credit here because I'm hearing the idea is that media is talking about it. Derek, the real D-Rock 28 says media, and he quotes a poll question from another radio station's show where they discussed a proposed trade, I guess. They put out their proposed trade. Would you do this? That is not media reporting that the Eagles want to trade A.J. Brown. And honestly, if that question bothered A.J. Brown, he's in the wrong business. I mean, there's nothing to that's ridiculous. It's fodder for a talk show. And it's mythical. There is no trading of A.J. Brown. Scott joins us on the Fanatic. Scott, good morning.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up, Scotty?
Happy Thursday. Is it Thursday?
Yeah, it is Thursday.
Week's almost over, fellas.
Better be.
It's the first day of February, too.
So, to the poll question you just mentioned, I saw it. I think it is fodder, but as a player, you want the city to be behind you. First, there's hit pieces from Marcus Hayes saying he's a toxic player. Then you got McNabb coming at him saying he's a diva. Then all season there's been so many big shots at him. As a player, I'd be annoyed. Come on, man. It's always something I got to squash. Why can't we just, you're supposed to support me as a city. Why? We run players out of the city all the time.
You don't think this city supports A.J. Brown?
I think the players do, and I think you guys do. I just think other stations. And
what about the fans? I think the fans do.
The fans are more than anything, because the fans are the ones defending him. It's like a war now. There's the media versus the players, and then there's the fans versus the media. Because again, there's a hit piece about Jalen Hurts a couple of weeks ago that compared him to Carson Wentz. It's Jesus, I don't know. Sometimes I think not media, but the reporters go above and beyond to create a story when there isn't one.
Bob, you were in that business. What would you say to Scott about that?
Yeah, you know what, Scott? You make good points. Each individual writer is going to come up with their own thoughts and what they want to write and the correlation that they may see between Jalen Hurts and Wentz from back in the day. I don't know. Is that something to put in your mind? Oh boy, this looks familiar. You got a head coach going in that pretty much has to beg for his job, meetings at the end of the year, and you got the coordinators. One guy didn't want to fire him, and he got fired. The other guy said, go ahead and fire him, and I'll stay. How's it affect the quarterback? I was never a reacher like that. I was more of maybe I didn't think out of the box as much. I don't think I would have gone there. Scott, I hear what you're saying. I don't think I would have gone there.
The one thing I did notice in the interview, though, which kind of got me, and when they asked what they want to say to Kellen Moore, they both chuckled they both knew something we all know. That none of them would say, I'm with Pat. They can't bury the guy. It's clear Nick lost the team. DeAndre Swift was telling Micah Parsons, we ran out of time. That story's so overly said. We're tired of hearing it.
So, Scott, real quick, what did you think the chuckling meant?
It meant what we all thought. The plays weren't being called, and we didn't just give me the ball.
Right, okay.
The slants. I bet he was looking for the slant patterns that we were calling for.
You know how many yak yards they're going to get with? Oh my God!
Well, that's crazy, and that's what's great. Thank you, buddy.
I didn't know what Scott was. I thought Scott was referencing maybe that they chuckled because Kellen Moore isn't going to bring anything here, but he wasn't. He was chuckling. He gave the answer that I thought also, that they were kind of chuckling, saying this was a Mickey Mouse offense.
And get us the ball. Get us the ball and get us the. I'm sure the slant patterns have something to do with it too.
I like those answers. Give me the ball.
And if you do like the yards after the catch, and it's clear. And Bob, you got very animated in the first segment, and I understand it because coming from your background, you hate this crap. You hate these stories that become stories out of nothing.
Yeah, and I don't even know how to wrap my head around. Like, somebody put this out, click hits. Somebody put it out to say, like, hey, look at me, let's do this. And then the media gets brought into it. Well, the person that brought it up, because it is ludicrous, with a $40 million cap hit. And why would you trade your best player? And this isn't like the organization has fallen off the hill. It's like they got off track. And you have really talented players moving forward. So, yeah, to me, non-stories, and John, you said it perfectly. This is a non-story.
It is a non-story.
The Eagles haven't come out and said they're looking to trade. And nobody of interest has at all talked about trading A.J. Brown. So now the media gets lumped into it. And, yeah, everybody out there knows, all our YouTubers, everybody knows I got a soft spot there. But I'm truthful with it also. The media shouldn't – now, does the media have to react to it? I guess you got to ask him the question the way Kay Adams did and Olivia Rayner did. Like, yeah, you have to ask the question because now it's out there, but it sucks.
I got to tell you is that we had class last night. In fact, some of my students are going to come out tomorrow. They just want to meet Pat Egan, I think, for First Friday.
Man, they're going to be disappointed.
And I think it was the free meal, Pat. College kids.
Yeah, no,
they'll take the Embers breakfast.
Yeah, that's what I tell people.
It was nice of you to tell them you were going to pick them up at 4:30 in the morning, John.
Yeah, well,
you're a good man.
They can Uber themselves. But the idea that I tell them all the time, I don't consider us media. I don't consider this job media because we do not have checks and balances that legitimate media has. And again, I'm not saying we're not illegitimate media, but I consider what we do much more entertainment than media. We don't have the checks and balances that media has. You have an edit. You wrote something. If you wanted to run with something, you wanted to write something, you wanted to do something, it was always there's somebody that was going to checks and balance you.
Oh, sure.
Somebody's going to do that
every day. What are you thinking of writing? What do you got?
And there is too on television news. There's somebody who decides, hey, whether they think that's legitimate to run with or not. And bottom line, we're not media. We're not. I don't consider ourselves media. I consider ourselves an entertainment vessel. And at times, Pat, we're entertaining. At times.
It's few and far between, but we do try.
Yes.
Yeah. Our job is to bring up conversation. Their job is to report.
I'll put it this way. We, and I'll just talk about us right here, are closer to media than anyone putting out there a BS tweet of he's going to get traded or maybe he should get traded.
Do you want to trade him? Or
yeah, because we look at there ain't no way he's going anywhere with a $40 million salary.
So why are you like? Why does it come about? And that's what it is. And Twitter is not media, and having an Eagles blog does not make you media. It doesn't. I don't consider us media. I don't consider any. I consider the people who are in there every day, that are in there reporting every day with the access, with the talking to players, talking to executives. They're the media. And they have a different checks and balances than we do. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Hey, I want to chime in because I've spent some time with you guys, and I've spent some time talking with Bob, and Bob is a man of integrity. He will report facts, and I agree with you that, you guys have an entertainment factor to it. But other than that, with the other things like Twitter, which isn't a real place, it's becoming more of just clickbait central. You guys aren't that. And those people who imbibe in that clickbait central, they're just, they're looking for money. Their integrity is not there as much.
But I can tell you this, Rye, it sells. It sells. And that's it. Yeah. And there's a faction of the populace that loves it. That loves clickbait.
I can be annoyed at us talking about something that is a non-story because somebody made something up. And all that, that's where my annoyance goes. But it's nothing personal against anybody. It's just, my background of really, we got to respond to something you just made up in your head, and now people are going to run with it.
Well, the fact that AJ Brown's responding to it is what I just can't understand. So he's worried about social media when he says, I've disconnected from social media.
He said he wanted to grow as a person. It has nothing to do with football.
Right.
He said he wanted to challenge himself on something, and he felt like he was spending too much time on social media and he could be doing other things instead of that.
Well, this entire thing is based on him reacting to social media.
But he's asked about it.
Yeah, but he is reacting to it like he's bothered by it. He's like, it's mythological. AJ, you are loved. I don't know if you need to hear that, and a lot of people sometimes they do. You are loved in this town. My gosh, you go walk through the parking lots. At every Eagles game I go to, I will at some point walk through the parking lots, either visiting people or otherwise. The A.J. Brown jerseys are everywhere. This city loves you. This city, the fan base loves you. The Eagles aren't trading you. The Eagles aren't taking even when I bring up the $42 million cap hit, that's just to point how ludicrous the discussion is. This city loves A.J. Brown. And I think A.J. Brown really enjoys being here. Or at least I hope he does.
Yeah, and if he's truly off social media, like he says he is, he's, scrapped his Instagram and doesn't do much anymore, and he sits down with people and they say, yeah, man, all this talk about, you and traded and stuff. Well, if he's really not on social media and not paying attention to all that, maybe it's catching him off guard too a little bit. And he's like, what?
Hey, Bill.
I'm just going to play, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just going to be here, catch footballs. Bill joins us on the Fanatic. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Hey, listen, and you guys are totally right. The whole obnoxious part from someone just to get, like you said, clickbait because it's the downtime of the year for us now. The biggest thing is these people don't understand is, one, he's never said he wants to trade it or doesn't want to be here. Two, the Eagles never said it. And three, like I was just telling the producer, he's $40 million of cap hit.
Yes. And if you respond to the thing is though, if people flock to the clickbait and the fake stuff, then that's what people are going to continue to churn out. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
If that's what gets the clicks and that's what gets your ears and that's what gets it, people are going to react to it. And that's what they're going to do. It's a matter of what you want. I love, but it explains though, Bob, you get very passionate about it. And the reason you get very passionate about it is because you look at the job differently. And you look at it as and reporting. We're not reporters. We're not reporters.
Chris Miller brings up a good point. He goes, hey, when you guys go to a game, don't you use your press pass a lot to go there and you get to talk to players and coaches? Yeah, so therefore, he's right. And do I go down there before Sixers games and go in the locker room and go to the press conferences and pull guys aside and talk to them so that I can build my information?
Yes.
So that we can have good conversations with our great listeners and YouTubers and all that? Yeah. So in that sense, we're media because we're bringing up things and we're sharing things with our beloved listeners that they wouldn't know because I had a one-on-one conversation with, Marcus Morris or something like that.
Right.
I don't do it for me. I do it because I love sharing knowledge with the fans who might not be able to get that somewhere else.
It gives insights into the us going down to a game, us going down talking to a coach, talking to a player or otherwise. It gives us insights that allow us to have hopefully intelligent conversations where we're not talking about, is A.J. Brown going to be traded? But as far as Tim McManus is there reporting, Andrew Pacheco's there reporting. Is guys like we have the best. I think the Eagles have the best beat in the country, in my mind, that I've seen in NFL, and I observe it. And I lived in a city where it dwarfs in comparison. This city just dwarfs it in comparison to the quality of the coverage. But there's some that are going to go for the clickbait, and if you patronize that and you think that's important and worthy of your time, they're not going to change.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the report, I went, well, tweets aren't going to get retweeted by themselves.
Yep.
So you got to get clickbait and you got to get retweet bait. And a lot of people in our industry, unfortunately, will put out crap and absolute hot take BS because they know full well it will get tweets. Like it'll get retweeted, it'll get quote tweeted, and they don't care about getting dragged. All they care about is the fact that their stupid face is in a lot of timelines and somebody out there is going to click follow and it ups their brand.
I just wish AJ would ignore it, Pat. I wish that it wouldn't that you really, if you're telling me you're not caring about social media, then ignore it.
Well, it's
then
tough because he's asked about it, so he's got to address it.
But it's obviously bothering him, and it's obviously weighed on him because he had a whole little thing about it, and then puts it on the Philly media. Like the media gets blamed.
Well,
Even Devontae, the media is not doing that.
We don't look at us as, quote, media in the sense of reporters, but they might.
Do you?
No, I'm not a media.
Look,
Stop. No,
they look at us as media, probably.
I wear sweatpants.
Sure they do. So we're not journalists. like we know the difference.
Right,
if I'm a player and you'd say, oh, Sports Talk Radio is saying that, and you lump it in as media, I understand them saying that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know the definition, the fine line. It's not that fine. It's a pretty big line between media and journalist.
Right.
And you're talking about reporting and breaking news and, like you're being in there every day. That's the journalist part of it. Media, we have a voice, we have a microphone, we get to talk to and at people with our opinions. Yeah, okay, I have no problem with them lumping us in media. Sure.
I got I am a big supporter of the blog community. I will retweet something if I read it from a blog. I enjoy some of the content, and if I like the blog or if I like something, I'll follow it. But a lot of times I'm reading stuff on blogs where it's like, the Eagles locker room's having this issue. And I'll be like, really? First of all, how are you getting that from your living room? How are you getting that insight on your Eagles blog that the locker room is reacting this way? And there are a lot of guys and then what I'll always do is go to the guys that are there every day. The DeChecos, the Kerrs, the people, if you can lean on a guy like a Jeff McClain, and you can get information from a Tim McManus, they're the guys who are going to tell you about what's going on in the locker room. There was a lot of talk down the stretch about the Eagles locker room and what was going on in it. And a lot of that talk was from people who have no access to that locker room and have no understanding of what's going on in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people call me too sensitive to the media, and I understand it. I hear you. And if you have a line of work, I bet you're sensitive into sticking up for what you do if others, don't look at it the way you perceive it. But, I mean, here's how sensitive I was back in the day and probably still am. There was a blogger that would come into Sixers practices once in a while at home. At home, not every day, once in a while and come to games. And on his blog or whatever had that he was an Eagles or the Sixers beat writer and sees every game and had a tweet. So I called him over. I'm like, dude, why are you're just blatantly lying. You're not at every game. You're not at every practice. Like, I'm not at every game and every practice, and I'm a beat writer. There was my Saturday was my day off. If they had a Saturday home game, I was probably hanging with the family being I was traveling so much. So, that's how sensitive I am. And right or wrong, no, I'm not saying that I am.
You want to get the job right.
But it's just, look, if you're comfortable in what you do and you're secure in what you're doing, you're truthful and have a foundation of truth, then you have no problem saying, yeah, I'm a blogger and I get to practice as often as I can.
So all I heard in that was that you weren't dedicated to your craft.
On Saturday morning,
yeah. You were skipping it.
Nah, Saturdays I was out.
That's how you ended up in radio.
Remember, we would be on road trips, and the Sixers would have a Wednesday, Thursday, and we'd be in, say, Houston, and then a Saturday game in Phoenix. And I'd be like, oh, man, I got to work on Saturday. It just kind of sucked because you're on the road so much. But oh, my God, Bob Ford, I'm so sorry. The late writer Bob Ford.
The late writer.
Bob Ford was on the Sixers beat a few years before me. I think he had a string of 4 years, all 82.
Oh, no.
Did not miss a game.
That doesn't shock me knowing what I know of Bob Ford.
He's one of my favorite people in the world. I love that dude.
The funny thing is you said the late Bob Ford by accident.
The late
there. Yesterday,
sports writer Bob Ford.
Yesterday, Ricky almost came out of his chair because Tyrone was saying,
oh, I heard that.
John Kruk was a 300 hitter from the time he was born till when he took his
died.
Till he took his dying breath or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, he's not dead. And Krucker will be back come baseball season. We'll be all over it. The other big story going on right now involves a man's knee and involves a team's chance at winning a championship. The Joel Embiid saga continues. Next, John Kincaid Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
WBEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincaid Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's been a morning of Egan trying to hack into medical records. We don't even know we don't know officially that an MRI has happened yet on Joel Embiid.
Be shocked, right, if it hasn't.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it hasn't.
But it is weird that we haven't gotten an update at all.
Is it odd? Is it odd, Bob? I mean,
yes, very odd. Like, they come out with a statement yesterday, the Sixers PR that I guess we all got, that said, Joel Embiid will be out tomorrow night and he will be evaluated over the next 24 hours. Nothing about what an MRI showed. Now, what are reasonings behind an MRI not being taken? Too much swelling?
Okay.
Something
yeah,
like
there
that.
is, absolutely.
It could be a case of where and when. Maybe they didn't, I'm not going to say maybe they didn't have anybody in San Fran, and maybe he had to go to L.A. To do it, or maybe they're bringing him back here, but I'd be surprised if they're flying him that far if there is that much swelling. So a lot of questions to be had as to why we didn't get results of an MRI, but I don't know about you guys. I'll ask you first before I give my opinion. What was your thoughts when you got the notice from the Sixers that he'll be out tomorrow night and be evaluated over the next 24 hours?
I'm going to take one that I think might annoy you. Here we go again.
I'm done being annoyed today.
Sorry.
That's it. That's out of my system.
Here we go again. That's where I was at. Yeah, that's where I was at. Are you kidding me? Another spring where this is the discussion, where this is our focus, the health of Joel Embiid. Because honestly, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it being the storyline. I'm tired of it being always what we have to discuss. And I feel sympathy towards him for being, bad because I know he's not a guy. I don't think he's a malingerer. I don't think he's a guy who just wants to earn a paycheck. But it's just getting boring to me that this is the same old every single year.
What was your reaction, Pat?
Considering I just found out about it 2 minutes ago.
You could have played along.
I could have, but I like to be transparent because I thought he was just going to be listed as questionable. Yeah, I missed that email from the Sixers. I'm sure I did get it, but just didn't notice it, I guess, in the moment. And not surprised. I mean, I don't want to play tonight. I'm cool if they shut him down for 2 weeks at this point.
They didn't shut him down the other night. And then the story comes from Sam Amick that people within the Sixers organization think Embiid begged himself into action the other night. Well, if he did, shame on Nick Nurse. If he did, and you saw what you saw, and it's not like it's 20/20 hindsight. The fan base was trending. Embiid in that game, it was trending. There were so many people tweeting, "He doesn't look right. Get him off the court." When he went up the ramp in the first quarter. It didn't jump up and surprise them.
No. So yes, and correct. Many people that said, "Why is he playing? He shouldn't be in there." I agree with you. Totally agree with you. So now I have to look for the story in that. What's the story in it? Why possibly could this happen? There's no chance in hell that Nick Nurse didn't see him try to jump for a rebound and totally collapse like his
like
weight just gave out to his knees.
Leg buckled.
Like, why? There has to be a reason. If we're going to praise Nick Nurse for being so smart, running an offense that we really like, and having this team on board, why? Why is it? So, okay, now the speculation goes to Embiid begged to play. There's a story today or a column today by somebody who said it's the NBA's fault. They're making him play because they're investigating now when players don't play. So many things. But, yeah, to me, Nick Nurse should be able to look out on the court and go, nope, not tonight, buddy. Doesn't have it. Come on out.
He should, right? And he has that power, doesn't he?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
And John, you and I have talked about Nick Nurse a lot. There's no way that's going over his head. So there has to be more to it. What is it? Has Nick Nurse not seen Joel Embiid try to play through enough and he wanted to say, no, man, you say you're good, medical says you're good, play through it. I don't know. That's kind of a tough guy approach. And do you have to do that with a guy who's in his 8th year, an MVP, maybe the greatest player in the league? I don't think you have to do it. I don't think there was a lesson being taught. I don't know. That's where you have to go.
It was a costly lesson if it was.
Did you guys see the Ramona Shelburne story?
Go on.
Basically, he went out there and told him with the Denver game, like, don't even put me on the injury report. I'm playing. And then he couldn't even jump in warm-ups. He was having trouble jumping on the knee, and they were like, yeah, we're shutting this down, dude. You ain't playing.
I just don't understand. You didn't play him on Monday night. And then, so you sit him on Saturday. You sit him on Sunday. You sit him on Monday. But then you say, oh, no, but he's good to go on Tuesday. Now everything's fine. That it makes no sense. And if that 65-game thing comes into it, then it's just flat out stupid on his part.
I don't think it's that. I personally, like we talked about
I hope it's not.
Last segment, A.J. Brown, right? And the social media angle, and if he's listening to it too much. I do think that Joel Embiid does listen to the media way too much, whether it be us, whether it be fans, whether it be tweets, whatever. Because the idea that he ducks some of the best players, which is absurd, I think he hears that, and that's why he wants to push his body to an extreme that he probably shouldn't be pushing it. When he hears the talking heads on ESPN saying that he needs to man up and go out there and play, and he goes, all right, I'm going to show you how tough I am, but it's to the detriment of himself. And that the whole job of a head coach is to save the player from themselves.
Right.
And in that situation, I didn't feel like Nick Nurse did that. As soon as you saw him fall and his knee buckled.
It should have been done.
Like, I know we're too close to it because we've been through the entire gamut of Joel Embiid's injuries, but even if we weren't too close to it, I think even if we're just sitting there and, we're in New Orleans having no stake in the game, having no idea about Joel Embiid's injuries, we're going, yeah, you probably should get that guy out, right?
Yeah, and this comes to my point perfectly because somebody's questioned me on this. They said, Bob, you said if Embiid says he's good to go, you would play him. Now you're doing a 180. Am I? Did I say any? I'm not doing a 180. What I said was, if he's ready to go, yeah, I'm playing a player. If they say they're ready to go, I'm playing them. And then I watch them out there, and I see what they're doing.
Done.
Yeah, sorry, you don't have it tonight. Look, I'm as stupid as anybody, probably more stupid than most. That, yeah, if I had a broken ankle in 2 places and I kept playing in a game. Like, I'm just dumb that way. And these guys are way tougher than I'll ever be. So they're going to say they want to play. It is your job. If a guy tells me he wants to play, I'm not going to speculate what your injury is. Okay, fine, get out there and play. Then when I watch him, then I come to the conclusion as coach, maybe even a fellow player, to say, like, yo, big boy, you come on, get out. You don't have it tonight, and you don't want to injure that any further.
It is weird. So, Pat, you were quick to say you do not believe the 65-game thing enters his mind?
I really don't. No,
I do.
I don't. At this point, he's not going to make it, and I think he's probably accepted that. You'd have to pretty much play the rest of the season. I think he can miss like 6 more games, which is
now it's
crazy.
Now it's down to 5, I think, or 4.
It's crazy to think that he'd be able to get through the rest of the season only missing like 4 or 5 games. So I don't think it plays into it. I think he got his MVP. He's good there. I think he really does want to enter the postseason healthy. But when he goes home, and Bob knows this, these players have a lot of downtime. And they open up Twitter or Instagram, and they're going to see some former player questioning their toughness and saying, man, you got to get out there and play. And this is a marquee matchup. And, every time you haven't played in Denver since 2018 and blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, like there's a pride factor that goes into it, and you respect that in a player, that they're a prideful guy and they want to play and they want to show out for their team and all that. But as a coach and a training staff, you gotta be like, dude, nah, it's not worth it. A game in January against a West Coast team is not worth it, man. Like, this isn't. We want to win every game, but it's not even against an East Coast team. It's against a West Coast team. There's a long game here. So I do think Joel Embiid wants to enter the postseason healthy, but I think at times that gets skewed because pride gets in the way.
7 a.m. hours brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. It's awesome. Sportsbook and casino, one sleek, easy-to-use app, the official winning partner of your Philadelphia 76ers. You can use it in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland. Great spot. The 65-game thing that I just brought up is starting to bother me. Because now you got people like Draymond Green on their podcast talking about complaining about the 65-game rule and saying this is a joke. It's not right. You know what's a joke? Healthy players taking nights off, where you got guys where the NBA had to do this stuff because of its players saying, Yeah, we had an 82-game schedule, which we want for the collective bargaining agreement because we want the money in there to be able to have that kind of revenue sharing and all that money, but we don't want to play it. We want to play a 60-game schedule. We want to play a 65-game schedule. And complaining about it. Look, this had to be put into place for a reason. The consumers of the sport. This is why that Commissioner Silver had to put these rules in. Whether you agree with them or not, they're looking out for the consumer.
Yeah, they are. And for Halliburton and those guys to come out and say, like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous in their mind that they came out and did this rule. It could also be ridiculous in their mind that guys are like, say if Halliburton has a legit injury that keeps him out 15, 18 games. And then, the rest of the games he's played, he's a 30-point, 14-assist guy that is in consideration, and rightfully so, for MVP with a legit injury in there. I can understand his being upset about it. But you're right, John.
But his compadres in the NBA Players Association, they're the ones who started to job the system. They started to work the system. And so this is what they brought this on, not anybody else.
So players are probably like, okay, you make a 65-game schedule. I'm still going to get paid the same money.
Yeah. No, they won't because the revenue won't be the same. That they should remember that determines the cap. They wouldn't have as many home games.
Yeah,
wouldn't have
they'll
as much,
find it.
But they wouldn't have as much revenue. The players aren't making the same. If they went to a 64-game schedule, then all those home games and all that revenue that's lost. So that affects the salary cap, which means players make less money.
8 games.
I think 8 games does. Sure.
8 home games. That's what you're talking about. Missing if you go down to like 65.
You don't think 8 home games matters?
There's so much revenue in the NBA.
There is.
They're not going to be able to afford players. Nah, they'll be fine. And you have a salary cap and all of those things. And, you would be fine that way. So do players probably want a shorter schedule? No question in my mind. I understand when you're being told you have to show up to us commoners to be told, hey, if you're going to work 82 days this year, you got to be there at least 65 times. Sure, we go, are you kidding me?
Are you crazy?
Yeah, so it is weird. I don't like the resting rules that they had. I don't like people getting away with it. I never did like it. You and I got to get that notebook out. I have to get this notebook out. I think it's in my closet. I'll bring it in tomorrow.
The notebook.
When I did, this was probably 4 notebooks ago, but I did in the back of it, and it was right when you and I started.
About the big
you and I had a great conversation about how much they played.
Yes.
And I'm not doing this back in the day type of thing, but why? Why is it different? Why is it that you had I have a Yogi Berra thing. Now, this is way long ago, but a catcher back in the day that in one season caught both games of 17 doubleheaders. Like craziness. But why did it change so much? Why is it that guys can't play 70-plus games?
And it's the greatest. We're supposed to be in the era of the greatest conditioned athletes ever.
That's what I don't understand.
We're not.
Either.
It's not. It's like these guys have the best nutrition, the best training, they're in the best shape.
People talk about, Wilt Chamberlain couldn't play in this day and age against such and such. I saw a thing the other day, and I don't know what it was, where somebody tugged on his jersey. And so it, it kind of exposed a little bit of his upper body. And my dad and Stan Hochman, God, they used to tell me how strong he was. And Stan Hochman was around him a lot.
Yes.
And he would be like, I'm telling you. And he would just pull me aside to tell me Wilt Chamberlain stories. And I love that. And I'm looking at Wilt Chamberlain, I'm like, yeah, that guy couldn't compete in this day and age. Probably never picked up many weights in his life. And look at him back then. There's also Pat, you might have seen this on YouTube. Him shaking hands with Shaq because he was doing a ceremonial jump ball with Shaq and I forget who the other center was. And the thing on Twitter was, look on Shaq's face when Wilt shakes his hand. Wilt shook his hand, and Shaq, who was much smaller than Wilt,
yes,
was like, whoa, what the hell is that?
One of those imposing handshakes?
But I do. Bring it all back in. I don't know why. Why is it that 65 games has to be the set mark for an 82-game season? Why isn't it 75 days? Why isn't it anybody playing all these 82 games anymore?
Pat, you seem to be, I believe from some of our notes, you maybe fall in where you understand it more that there should be a gripe with the 65.
I hate it. I hate this rule. To me, the MVP is like porn. You know it when you see it. And the fact that you're probably going to have a couple of the best players miss out on the award because of a rule that was put in place. Whoever wins
Why was it put in place, though?
Because there was a lot of complaints. I don't know. I don't. Like, the NBA forcing it to the players to play and all that, fine, whatever. But to put the award stipulation in place, I thought was a bit much. If you want to force the players to play and stop the load management thing, I understand that because of the consumership. I get all that. But the award thing, I don't. I don't get why that was put in place. I really don't. I don't know if it was a narrative surrounding
Embiid,
and I don't mean to put a tinfoil hat on, but there's always been that narrative of he misses too many games and whatnot, and the Embiid haters will go out there and say and point out the games missed, but there's no doubt he's the most dominant big man right now in basketball. Now, if he ends up missing 30 games, 40 games, whatever, and there has to be a line of demarcation, but I think the best player in the world when you see it. And this guy, Joel Embiid, missed out on the Rookie of the Year because he was punished because he missed too many games. Malcolm Brogdon ends up winning Rookie of the Year that year, and you can't tell me that any team is going to take Malcolm Brogdon over Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid was clearly the best rookie that year. So I just don't like the fact that we're taking awards and we're putting these stipulations that you have to play this many games and that many games, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't even go for Joel Embiid. I would think this rule would be stupid if it was anybody. But, the fact that, I'm watching the game of the night and they have to have a list of players that are close to being out of the running for MVP, and you're seeing names like Joel Embiid and Tyrese Halliburton, who probably will be up there, and, Jimmy Butler's name was thrown in there because I think he's already missed 15 games and stuff. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Hey, Pat joins us. Good morning, Pat. You're on the Fanatic.
Hello.
That's a different Pat. Hi, Pat.
Well. I called last week. I accidentally got Bob to do a little FCC violation. I hope
you owe me some money, Pat.
Hey, I am going to do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again today. But I get in the car and I hear John talk about how it sounds eerily similar to the past, and we're getting tired of talking about the same thing. And that's all I was trying to say last week. It wasn't the Sixers season's a failure because they can't win championship, but it seems like this is the same gift every year, just wrapped in a different way. It's the Sixers are looking hot, Embiid gets hurt, and now this dominates the storylines.
It is the storyline every year, but the only thing is, Pat, this is that I to me, I just am on the lines. I'm expecting Nick Nurse to be the guy who shuts this thing down.
So I will say I completely agree. I think it's coaching malpractice for a guy like Nick Nurse. It doesn't even matter who it is, Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, to let him back in the game. We also have to agree, though, that this is by far the number one professional league that is run by players. Players have all the power. They have all the say. When they don't like their situation, they can go elsewhere. They run the league.
Wait a minute, though. Wait, Pat, though. You remember when Doc Rivers was in with us for First Friday? I don't know if you listened that day when he was in our live studio audience show. I asked Doc Rivers about it. I said how much I hate load management. He goes, I hate it, too. And he talked about the fact that medical staff would dictate to him that a guy was available or not. So I don't agree with your point of view there at all.
Well, I have a hard time believing if Embiid says that he wants to play, that he can play, that there are many coaches in the league that are saying, no, you're not, sit down. I would view it as there's guys in this league of Embiid's stature that if they want to go in the game, they're going to go in the game.
And Pat, if you and I were coaching and he said that, what would we do? Yeah, go ahead, big boy. Right?
I agree with that to an extent, and that's kind of why I call, and that's my point. Here's my problem with Embiid, though, and you guys moved on to a different topic right as soon as I got on air, which I can mention in a second, but you guys talked about how Embiid's trying to play through his injury and show his toughness. I view it a lot as Embiid is being very selfish in the sense of there's a bigger picture to this. You know, if he wants to go out and play against Jokic and Curry to show his toughness, he doesn't someone have to sit him down and say, hey, big fella, there's bigger things this season.
April 20th is more important than January 28th.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so I get mad at Nick Nurse, but I also have to get annoyed at Embiid thinking, dude, this is every single year. For the last 5 years, this has happened. Now, sometimes in the playoffs, right? But it's happening every year, and you seem to care a lot more about the regular season than is necessary.
Good job, Pat. Appreciate you.
Pat, I have no complaints with your phone call at all today, buddy.
I did my best to make sure I didn't get
there you go. Good job. Hey, look, it's hey, Tasty Cake Dom is on the line. Dom, what's up, buddy?
Hey, John. Hey, Pat. Hey, Bob. I'm flabbergasted. Are people out of their minds?
Yes.
Dembele and Joel Embiid are selfish now. John, they're 26-8 when he plays, and they're 3-9 without him. Okay, first of all, change the name of the award then. Okay, if load management and everything like that, make it the Player of the Year, because doesn't that define value?
I think it does. I never liked the word most valuable player because of the fact that, Dom, is that if Bob and Pat and I each had a say in what the word means, we would all maybe have a different spin on it.
And he's selfish. John, by that trend, what I just said, right? If he misses 20 games and they go 5-15, none of this matters anyway, does it?
Well, no, because no. If you told me right now that Joel Embiid is going to be completely healthy for the first game of the playoffs, and they're in the middle of the pack seeding-wise, I would think that they have a good chance to do well in the postseason, that it could be a really special spring here.
But the stat with him now would say differently, John. If he missed,
but no, he's healthy.
Games,
He wouldn't be missing. He's playing in the playoffs. He's totally healthy come the playoffs. I would say they got a good chance.
You're talking playoffs.
That's what I am.
If he misses 25 games, they won't make the.
Yes,
they're 3-9 without him.
They're going to make the playoffs, Dom. They're going to be a playoff team. There was no reason for him to play on Tuesday night. Oh, how about this? If he wanted to play, and then after he went up the ramp in the first quarter, that's when it should have been over.
I'll say this. There's no reason he played as much as he did on Tuesday night.
30
How about
minutes.
that? If he came to me, and I'm being honest, man, I'm a head coach, and like Dom said, what was the record? 26-8 when he plays, and he tells me he wants to play, and I'm the head coach. Yeah, big boy, lace him up, get in there.
Now, but
then once it starts to go, yes. So, we can go back and forth of whether he should have played, whether he shouldn't have played.
After he went up the ramp, I didn't. I would have let him play too.
I have one answer to that. I'm sorry. Joel Embiid tells me as a coach that I'm playing, that I'm ready to go. Yep, you're in. Go ahead. Go jump center. Then, once I see, then it has to be, okay, Joe, no, you got to come over here. You're out. You don't have it tonight. So now the whole MRI stuff, that's the big question. Where is it? Where's it going? When's it going to be had if it hasn't already? To answer the question that I put to you guys that I never got to answer, when I saw that he'll be evaluated for the next 24 hours, he's out for one game, I was like, okay, all right. So we didn't get news that an MRI showed he has to be out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Okay. So for now, I'm looking at the positive side of it of, well, we didn't get really bad news. We didn't get much news, but at least we didn't get bad news.
The reevaluated thing tells me swelling.
I think so, too.
That's an assumption on my part. Totally assumption. But when I hear, he's going to be reevaluated, maybe they got to look at something and then they want to see it in the light of day under less stressful circumstances, less swollen circumstances or something like that. That could be it.
Yeah.
But this is I'm seriously though, I'm tired of the story. And I'm not calling him soft. I'm not saying, as I've said a million times over, I don't believe the man's a malingerer.
No.
But I'm tired of this story.
And to give credit, sorry, Pat.
I'm sorry, I'll cut you off.
To give credit to our caller, Pat.
Yes.
Who last week said, I don't care about the regular season because it's always the same thing. And now he calls today and says, look, see, it's the same thing. I still don't agree with that. Yeah, you're right. Every year he gets hurt. But no, I can't stop watching his season, just anticipating. And look, he might come back and have a remainder of the season as MVP. I don't want to miss that.
No.
I just don't. Sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say his injuries are like traffic on 76. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just annoying because it comes up at the worst time. You realize that it's going to happen, and you talk yourself into maybe I should take an alternative route. You don't. Maybe I should check Waze. It'll be all right. It's Tuesday at 11:30. What could be the backup? Well, there is. It's just like it's something you got to deal with in this area. And it's like potholes, 76 traffic, and Joel Embiid getting injured around this time of the year. It's just annoying, and we don't want to deal with it, but we have to.
But we keep and they keep at some point. You keep counting on them, and you keep counting on them, and you keep building around it.
It's like counting on a third lane.
Hey,
76.
Yeah, I don't think that's coming unless they double decker it. They could. They're double deckering it down in other cities, so maybe they could do that.
I'll hold my breath on that.
Yeah, you can get in. There's a question I have to ask you about one of the coaches in the Super Bowl. I think you know which one it is. John Kincaid Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey.
and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Look forward to First Friday tomorrow morning. If you are in our audience, we will see you there. If not, you might just want to tune in on YouTube, have the 97.5 The Fanatic app up, or just listen in the traditional way on your radio. And we appreciate everybody who is a part of the show as we are in the week before the Super Bowl. And it's weird is that Tony says that the entire A.J. Brown saga this week, he says, as you describe it, John, is nothing more than the week between the championship games and the Super Bowl. He said there's always stuff like this that starts flying around as we get ready for the big game coming up next week. I have no anticipation for this game, and I guess I just have a little Chiefs burnout. I have a little,
jealousy.
But I hate San Francisco. I can't stand dealing with Kyle Shanahan, so I am going to root for the Chiefs.
You don't have to deal with him anymore, John. So
yes, you
can sit back and enjoy the game.
I want to see him. Well, I will enjoy the game if the Chiefs send Shanahan home very upset. That would be great. That'd be nice to me. I don't want to see a team in the NFC win the Super Bowl because then it's just going to be like wasted opportunity for us. 10-1, same conference. You had the game here in your building. You win that game. That game goes differently. That day goes differently. I think we're going to Vegas.
Yeah, but you have that feeling now, too. So that's not going to pound it home anymore, I don't think. What happened with the Eagles happened with the Eagles. It's done with. What happens in the Super Bowl doesn't cement anything. I think our feelings are right when it comes to the Eagles that, God, it was horrible the last 7 games of the season. I said it at the end of the season. I thought they were the worst team in football. I wasn't saying just in the
they
playoffs.
Were terrible.
I mean, awful. They couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't get an offense going. Absolutely horrible. So, no, a Super Bowl, it's almost detached me from anything in this. I'm just going to watch it as a game.
You mean you can't be hurt?
No. I'm looking forward to a good game. I want to see what Andy Reid can do offensively against a very good 49ers defensive team that kind of got exploited a little bit in that first half by Detroit. I want to see if Brock Purdy in a Super Bowl, how does he last with that? Like all the little storylines, I like that stuff in sports. So I'm looking forward to having my jambalaya that I'm going to make that day.
Good.
There you go, Pat, pronounced it right. I like Super Bowl. I'm good. I mean, it sucks the Eagles aren't in it, especially with expectations. But yeah, I don't think the Super Bowl for me is going to cement anything more home than I don't already know.
If San Francisco wins, Pat, does it bother you? Or do you not matter?
No,
Are you sort of in
really
that
care.
dull spot?
Yeah, I don't really care. It doesn't do anything for me. But the game itself, I'm with you. I'm not really looking forward to it. I'll watch it.
I'm watching.
Put some stake in the game, but
yes.
I mean, this kind of reminds me a little bit of when the Patriots played the Rams.
The year after the Eagles won, right?
And it was like, all right, so the city that has zero fan base to speak of, and a team that we've seen time in and time out. Like, I'm all right. I don't need to watch this. And then, you end up watching it, obviously, because it's a Super Bowl. I mean, you have to. But you just sit there going like, this is just gross.
I asked a question about Andy Reid this morning. And I've said it before. He's my favorite coach of all time, and it's not even close. And I do not believe that I think the argument can easily be made that Andy Reid is every bit the coach that Bill Belichick is in the history of the game. And I think by the time Andy's done, it will be less controversial for someone to even think it. But is Andy Reid a better coach in Kansas City? Or does he just have a better quarterback? Simple question. Is he a better coach? Or does he just have a transformational better quarterback that makes him a better coach?
Yes to both.
Okay, explain.
We had I have had this conversation with not to bring it to me. So I played for a legendary high school basketball coach.
Yes.
Right? Stayed at a school for 30 years and was wildly successful. They were only allowed to play 24 games in a season. He won 20 or more games for 18 straight years. Like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. Especially the way the kids turn over.
He was my head coach his, 4th or 5th year. I would love to have had him as a head coach 10 years later.
Oh, yes.
Because you just get better. Andy Reid's probably just gotten better. And I really believe that. Yes, Patrick Mahomes, having him at your disposal, that's great. And you're probably, just wringing your hands saying, oh, ha, ha, ha. But when you have guys on national TV, the likes of a Tony Romo and Jim Nantz and all those guys saying he may be the most innovative offensive coach in this game with a Bill Walsh who invented the West Coast offense. Listen to that.
That's high praise.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hugely high praise.
Do I think he's gotten better as a coach since he left Philadelphia? I do, because we don't see as much clock management when we watch Kansas City. We don't see as many, young coaching things as we saw here in Philadelphia. And hell yeah, it helps having Patrick Mahomes. But, this year's a great example. We were downplaying Kansas City earlier this year because their wide receiving core isn't all that great. And yet Andy Reid has figured out a way to run an offense with a great quarterback to overcome that and be able to get into a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I honest to God, I think it's both. I do. Good quarterback, but, yeah, better head coach also.
Where do you fall on that, Pat?
I think it's Andy and, yeah, I mean, I agree with what Bob just said. It's both. It's you have an unbelievable quarterback, and you identified him, or at least you trusted your staff, because Matt Nagy was the one who kind of really, really wanted Patrick Mahomes. I thought it was really interesting that Andy Reid drafts him and doesn't throw him right in there, which is that's something that doesn't happen nowadays. I mean, normally you draft a guy in the first round and he doesn't sit. He's in there week one, no matter if he's ready or not. We see that time in and time out. It's the second time I said that. But normally you throw him to the fire, and Andy had the wherewithal to go, no, he ain't ready. I've got a vet in Alex Smith. He'll be fine.
I can make the playoffs with Alex Smith.
He gets to the playoffs with Alex Smith, right? So a lot of it has to do with the credit to Andy for developing Patrick Mahomes, because we don't know how Patrick Mahomes would be if he had been thrown into the fire. He might be great. He might not. But you can't deny the fact that he does have probably the best quarterback in football right now. But it's a yin and yang thing. But the fact that Andy has done it now in two different places, and with multiple quarterbacks, he's been able to get to the playoffs, and he's been able to draft franchise quarterbacks before. A lot of it, to me, goes probably 60-40 Andy.
The longevity of Andy Reid is amazing in two spots, too. That's amazing. And nowadays, that just doesn't happen. I mean, this is year 11 in Kansas City, I believe. I think it's 11.
Crazy.
And I mean, he's gotten it to a whole new he's got it to a whole new level. That he just is he's so dependable. He's so pencil in the 10 wins every year, sort of like your high school coach, Coach Crawford. You just go, okay, there's a guy who can just a year after year, you know what to expect. You know what the product's going to be with Andy Reid. And to hear Mahomes talk about him the way he does, hear it. But I wonder he doesn't value wide receivers the same way that other coaches do.
Yeah.
When he builds a roster.
When he's an offensive coach.
Yes.
It was funny.
He doesn't think it's as important.
Yeah, I played in a golf outing last summer, and Steve Spagnuolo was there, and I didn't know he was there, and I turned around, he just came over and, gave me a big hug and stuff like that, because he's such a good guy.
Good dude.
And I just, was congratulating him and everything, and he's like, dude, this is exactly what he said. He's like, dude, nobody knows how good Andy is. He is just phenomenal. Now, Steve Spagnuolo, and I don't say this lightly, maybe one of the top 3, 2, maybe one nicest guys I've ever met. Nicest can be. So obviously he's not going to say anything bad about anybody. But his effusive praise of Andy Reid when he has been all over the NFL.
And worked with some great coaches.
It hits with me. It's not here's an assistant talking about his head coach. He has no reason to tell me that. But he did. He's like, dude, I'm telling you, you just have no idea how great Andy is. And so, yeah, there's something to Andy Reid as far as being a head football coach that, he needs to be put there in a limited amount of people as the best of all time.
I mean, the greatest is the greatest. It's weird how his philosophy, though, still of not really, you don't need the star wide receivers. And then I looked at the way the Eagles roster's built and the way the Eagles offense is built. Is there anything we could learn from Andy? Or is it all Mahomes?
In that situation, a lot of it's Mahomes. We lived through Andy with a franchise quarterback with bad wide receivers.
Todd Pinkston, who's the running backs coach, by the way. Who's the running backs coach
Todd
For
Pinkston's
Andy
the
Reid.
running backs coach?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Todd
did- yeah,
Pinkston's
that's
their
true.
running
Is
back.
Greg Lewis still the wide receivers coach for them?
Yes. There was that team
How about
picture that they posted on TV the other day, right?
Yeah, Todd
With Harbaugh.
Yes.
Yeah, you had and Pinkston and who did you just bring up
Thrash?
again? Who?
Thrash? James Thrash?
I don't think.
I don't
Thrash
think
in
he
it. Who
was
did you
on
just
it.
ask if he was on it?
Greg Lewis.
Greg
Lewis,
Lewis.
yeah.
I don't. I mean, he's a coaching factory. Andy Reid. I mean, he's created careers for so many different coaches. But it's amazing. The numbers are pretty crazy. And I got it for you, and I just wanted you to hear what these numbers are, because when you think of Andy Reid, you think of everything that he's done. And there was a breakdown, Hembo from the Greeny Show and from ESPN, Westchester's own. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid in the playoffs by quarterback. He's 14-3 with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback as a playoff coach. With Donovan McNabb, Jeff Garcia, Michael Vick, and Alex Smith, he was 11-13. He scores 30.2 points a game with Mahomes in those 17 games. With those quarterbacks, he scored 22. Elite quarterbacks. Now, it's a matter is, did Mahomes turn Reid into a big game coach, which is what Hembo asked? Because before, Andy had the reputation of not being a big name coach. Before he got Patrick Mahomes, that was always the knock on Andy Reid, that he wasn't a big game coach.
Yeah.
And whether that was fair or not, he continually knocked on the door. I never would believe that, because I was an Andy Reid truther, and there's nothing. But I also thought at the time that it was time for Andy to go.
Yeah.
When he went,
and I think everybody, including him, was there also. Well, it's interesting. Look, a coach is always going to look better the more talent you have, right? And the simple question here is, of those guys you named, I would put McNabb the best.
Yes.
Not counting Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes better than Donovan McNabb?
Yes.
Far and above.
Not even close. Yeah.
Exactly. So, that could be your answer also.
A.J. Brown agrees with me, by the way.
Yeah, the games that the Eagles lost in the playoffs with Andy Reid, there was blame to go to Andy Reid, no question. How are you only scoring, 3 points against Carolina and 6 points against Tampa? My numbers are probably wrong, but why was your offense not clicking?
Well, that was
in those games.
The one game, the Carolina game, is the game that McNabb got hurt.
He got hurt.
And you had to put Detmer in.
You get to a Super Bowl and
three turnovers.
McNabb wasn't great that day.
You lost by 3, and McNabb had 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that game as long as I live.
Do you put that on Andy Reid?
I'd put that.
I remember a crossing pattern that Westbrook, and I bring it up to him every time I talk to him, that Westbrook cutting across the middle near the goal line, wide open, and he threw a bad pass.
I think he threw it behind him a little bit,
way
didn't he?
behind him. It's a good conversation, but I have no problem. We can dissect it as much as we want. I really have no problem putting Andy Reid as in the top 3 of all-time coaches.
Because I do. I think he's right there. And I think the argument that everybody's like, well, Bill Belichick, just to end the conversation there, I completely disagree. There's a large percentage. It's not 1 season. It's not 5 seasons. It's not 7 seasons. It's over a decade of data that we have of what Bill Belichick is as a head coach without Tom Brady. Yeah. And I think that if you ignore that, you're just not taking in is that Andy Reid he got benefited by Patrick Mahomes. But Andy Reid did a hell of a lot of winning without Patrick Mahomes that Bill Belichick has not done.
Yeah, and I talk about this a lot, and I really do feel this way, John. You can talk about Super Bowls and appearances and all, and that's great, and that's part of it, a big part of it. But it's building a culture. And if you don't think the Kansas City Chiefs right now have a culture, that's as much to coaching, to me, as wins and losses, because you build that culture. You build winning and then have a culture to go along with it. Look, if you stack that Kansas City team and talent-wise up and down the roster and compare it to maybe Buffalo, maybe Cincinnati without injuries, maybe San Francisco and all, they're not undeniably better than those teams that I mentioned talent-wise. But they have a culture. I compared it to a drunk the other day. You don't get a hangover when you're drunk because you're constantly drunk. Well, they don't get Super Bowl hangovers because they're constantly in the Super Bowl.
I saw where Lamar Hunt's son, I'm sorry, I don't know his name. I don't know if it's Junior or whatever.
Mike.
No, it's not. That he, very funny, Pat. That he, they reached out to Andy Reid within 5 hours of him being fired.
Can't believe it took that long.
In Philadelphia, they were like, "Yeah, let's have this conversation."
I would have been calling him up during that press conference with Lurie.
I mean, it says here, Andy, you have a phone call. Can you take this call right now? You're in the middle of questions, but it's amazing that the Chiefs just said, "Are you kidding me?" They got rid of him, and it's there. You've got some national media now trying to spin it as, "Yeah, Philly gave up on Andy Reid."
Yeah, we gave up 13 years. We gave up on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, come on, give me a break. They did not give up on Andy Reid.
Well, at least it wasn't the media that ran him out of town.
Exactly. Oh, no, but they do get – there's some of that. Oh yeah, nobody ever realized what they had in Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid was still overwhelmingly popular here with the large part of the –
I think he still is.
I do too.
I think he's become more popular now than he was at the end.
Well, yeah, at the end, I mean, they won 4 games.
Time held all wounds.
Yeah, right? and the big elephant in the room is the fact that the Eagles eventually won a Super Bowl. So
he's lost a little weight.
Walrus in the room. The big walrus in the room is that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and that ultimately, I think, healed the biggest wound. Because for the longest time, it was Andy is a great coach, but he can never win the big game. Well, all that goes out the window once you win the big game. It doesn't matter who it's with. It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, we're happy for Andy. We're happy for us. Everybody's happy. You can come on back. We'll buy you a beer. I think there's a lot of pro-Andy support.
He's a Mormon.
The first go ahead, Bob, take it away.
The first time I met Andy Reid away from, business was at a dinner, and I don't know if it was sports writers' dinner. I don't know what it was. But Joe Conklin got up and gave this whole, whole thing. And it was like Andy's first year. And he goes on. He's like, yeah, Coach Reid coming in here with an offensive line that sucks. And he just blasts them. So I'm looking at Reid the whole time, and I'm wondering, man, this is tough. First time here. Nobody really knows who he is. He grabs a microphone. He goes up there. He goes, that was very funny, Joe. He says, you talk about my offensive line, how bad it is. My defensive line, how bad it is. How about we talk about your hairline? And it was like, boom.
Welcome to town.
And, a gathering of sports writers, we all looked at each other and we're like, okay, we might have something here.
He belongs.
Like he just showed something that night that I think we all was like, okay, he's not just this guy coming in to coach. He's got a little personality to him.
Hey, John joins us on the Fanatic. John, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good to hear from you, buddy.
Thank you. I just wanted to weigh in on the comparison between Belichick and Andy. And I think if Andy continues on the arc he's going, say he gets to 9 Super Bowls, wins 5 and 4, wins 5, loses 4, something like that, I think you can, when you look at what I think would make him better than Belichick is, and I think, John, you touched on it, and Bob, you touched on it when you talked about culture, is Andy Reid has a coaching tree that's successful without him.
Yes.
He makes good coaches. And I think when you look at the Matt Patricias and the Josh McDaniels of the world and Romeo Crennels, all of Belichick's coaches really just work well with him. And that's great. That's a testament to his culture. But Andy's culture can be replicated other places, and those coaches are also successful.
That's another great thing in Andy's column. Thank you, John. That plays to him. I mean, the development of coaches. Like, that's one of the things. By the way, and again, talking to someone very, very well connected yesterday, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Did they really go after Bill Belichick? And this NFL insider said, no. The Eagles did not go after Bill Belichick. The Eagles did not want Bill Belichick. And somehow that's become a story out of Boston. Like, yeah, well, Bill Belichick, if it wasn't Atlanta, the Eagles were kicking tires on him. And I was told that that's absolutely ridiculous, that the Eagles were not in any way going to bring in Bill Belichick, or that Bill Belichick was going to come here, whatever it was. They were never even in discussions as far as that happening. And I believe the source pretty well, that it's not, that he wasn't coming here. There is Belichick, I think he's a guy, if he's going to go somewhere, he's going to want total control. He's Bill Belichick. He's not going to want to come somewhere and have Howie, Lord of the Manor. Even if he respects Howie, he's not going to do that.
Maybe not. I mean, 72 years old, and somebody says to you, yeah, you can come in and just worry about coaching. Just worry about the game day stuff. Don't worry about player personnel. We'll take care of that. We'll pay you like you're running the whole thing. But no, at 72, just concentrate. I don't know. I'm not 72, and I hope not to be for a lot of years. But would that entice me more than saying, man, I got to go to a place I want complete control? That means I got to be on top of everything. I don't know.
That's why Saban just quit. That's why Saban said, I can't do it anymore. With the NIL, with the new age of recruiting and the transfer portal, I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
It's the first thing that coaches, every time I talk to college coaches, even now, it's one of the first things they bring up. And I bring
transfer
up too.
Portal.
How hard is it? Transfer portal and NIL. And it's just an unfair advantage. And it's crazy. It's a shame. I'm not going to say ruin college basketball. I sat and watched a college basketball game into overtime last night of two teams that you guys probably would, not you guys, but again, it'll go on my resume as, oh my God, that's what he does. But I watched Purdue and Northwestern last night.
Yeah, I'm not watching that game, Bobby.
And it was a great game. And I'm sitting there watching because I hadn't really seen Purdue that much, and they're one of the top-ranked teams in the country, and Chris Collins coaches Northwestern, and, so I wanted to watch a game, and I did. But I did think to myself, my God, they're the second-ranked team in the country. 10 years ago, I could name the starting 5 of the top 30 teams in the country. And there's pretty much 1 or 2 guys on Purdue that I knew and 1 guy on Northwestern that I knew.
The Pat always worries about your viewing experience. He has a question for you next. To where your eyeballs and how your eyeballs could be more pleased. John Kincaid Show on 97.5, The Fanatic.
and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincaid Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We look forward to game time coming up at 8:30 today, and we look forward to tomorrow, First Friday on The Fanatic. Breakfast provided by Ember's Smokehouse and Tap in Chalfont with their smoked meats, their comfort foods, their cold brews. Visit Ember's Smokehouse and Tap.com. I'm guessing that Stacy would have something to say about, from HR, would have something to say about us cold brews. So I'm thinking we probably are not doing that tomorrow morning. But
we don't have to tell Stacy everything we do.
Well, she listens to the show occasionally.
I'm not going to sit here and go glug, 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 glug on the air. You know, you can just silently.
What was that?
You know, I'm not going to be glugging beer on, so Stacy has to come running over and saying, hey, what's that glugging? No.
We can't have that.
No, you just, you keep it to the side and,
I got
done it now that you ruined it.
I said I got. Now she heard. I got five. I think 5 of the students are coming in tomorrow, Pat. So you're gonna need to impart some wisdom on them. Some of them saw you on a Zoom conference.
Oh yeah.
They saw you and they said that you were very honest.
Yeah, brutally.
That you were really honest, and but they appreciated it.
Yeah, because I was in their shoes, getting told the same crap.
Right.
And. Yeah, it was annoying.
Like we were looking at yesterday's, podcasting is big. People see podcasts like new heights, and they're like, man, that's what I can do. So yesterday in class, we were learning some numbers about 2023 statistics on demographics of podcasts. Pat, if you wanted to be in the 50%, top 50% of all podcasts in America, how many downloads do you need in a month? You're in the top 50%.
I would go with a month. Probably close to 70,000.
Bob, what would you guess for a good podcast? 50%. So you're in the top 50% of America.
I was going to say 100,000, so I'll stick with that.
Put your shoes on, boys.
In a month.
50. 50
downloads?
If you get 50 downloads a month, you are now in the top 50% of all podcasts in the United States. 50 downloads a month. It's what he said it's the old Mr. Wonderful line from the Shark Tank. It's like you have a nice, because the kids are told in some of their classes, well, you could go make a career as a podcaster. Well, the podcast now you got around, unless you're associated with one of the major distributors, it's really hard to make any money podcasting. It becomes a hobby, a side gig, a side hustle. And though the numbers of podcasts continue to go up, you're going to hear it's 6 million. 6 million podcasts now you can get out there. And 50 downloads puts you in the top 50%.
Wow.
That's why when I hear stuff like what Jeff McClain's doing, and I'll tell you it again, and I'm a fan of Jeff's work, and usually I have found, and Bob, this is no offense to people in the industry that are print writers, I have not found that podcasts done by writers are necessarily the most interesting, the most creative, or the most ear-grabbing. I love Jeff McClain's, his podcast to me is incredible. It's absolutely great, and there's a lot out there. So we were doing a little bit about podcasts last night. And the kids, their jaws are dropping. They're looking at them. I was like, because I guess they got other people telling them they can do that. I said, well, get into some sort of broadcasting. Maybe you can do that. So they're here to see you tomorrow too, Bob. So be ready. And Keith says we can expect the MRI results on Joel Embiid tomorrow. That is what Keith is saying. And it's not Keith Pompey. It's one of our listeners. He says, because tomorrow's Groundhog Day.
That's pretty good.
And I told Keith I'm stealing the line. Yes, because it feels like Groundhog Day. We're awaiting the MRI on Joel Embiid and wondering whether our spring is going to be crushed. And honestly, it would crush our spring. It would be absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
If this happens.
Say another thing. Like, I just don't know why. I go back to this a lot. I don't know why. Why didn't we get? He's going to be evaluated 24 hours. Too much swelling. MRI tomorrow. Like, why is this a secret? Injuries are not a problem. Like, it's a problem in that you have your best player out and all that. But you didn't do anything wrong. Like, Sixers organization did nothing wrong. The guy got hurt. And, we can question whether the coach should have had him in there. Injuries are going to be a part of sports until sports are done being played. Nothing wrong with it. Hey, such and such tweaked an ankle, going to get an MRI, don't know how long he's going to be out for. But this, constant mystery since I was covering the team around Joel Embiid's injuries, it's almost like they feel like they did something wrong. You didn't. Don't worry. It's okay. He hurt his knee. It sucks. But just be honest. We're evaluating him for 24 hours. Everybody's waiting on an MRI. Why can't you just tell us?
It's not just him, though. It was Ben Simmons. It was Markelle Fultz. It was all of them. I got
Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, I got PTSD from he'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks.
Just reading the names off, Pat.
It's for a while, and they've gotten much, much, much better. For a while, the Sixers had the worst medical staff probably in sports. I mean, and it wasn't the injuries. It was the letting Joel Embiid do a windmill dunk with no shoes on and a broken foot. It was just they would just find new ways to get their players injured. It was horrible. I mean, it was organizational malpractice, and they went through the gamut of getting new doctors, and it was bad. They finally got a decent medical staff that will keep guys healthy, but Joel Embiid, his body is, we know what it is at this point. It's one of the reasons why the Joel Embiid trade stuff will pop up every once in a while from people, because it's eventually the bottom is going to fall out of this, and the injuries will pile up so much that he won't be this unicorn anymore. He'll be a shell of a unicorn. It's frustrating, but yeah, it does feel like Groundhog Day, because around this time, I remember the game, national televised game. It was probably his second year against the Rockets, and he went off for 30 plus, and he looked great, but he got injured in the game, and he had a torn meniscus, and he ended up being out for the next 2 months. Bob, do you remember this? It was in January. It was a January game. It's around this time we seem to deal with some sort of Joel Embiid injury, and yeah, it
was when he played against nationally televised
Houston. The Rockets. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And they ended up losing the game, but he looked great, and it looked like, oh my God, he's actually a superstar. He ends up getting injured in the game. Fell awkwardly coming off of a dunk.
Right.
Yeah, and it's this is what we deal with. He's the call earlier, Pat brought it up great. It's every year he looks great, the team's doing well, and then the injury happens, and it goes, oh yeah, we're coming back down to earth. And getting into the playoffs healthy suddenly seems like it is as far away as Australia.
I hear that great summation from you, Pat, and I think you really summed it up well. We've had some smart input from Pats this morning, but all I could think of is, do unicorns have shells?
I just let it go. I was going to say something, but he was on a roll.
Does a unicorn
Absolutely.
It's a horse figure,
No, the one from the Galapagos Islands, they have the shell.
I didn't realize that. So it's like a tortoise and a unicorn.
It's fine. You didn't study that in college, and you missed that class. I did.
O'Hara, we didn't learn that at O'Hara.
Yeah. The unicorns, they have shells. It's different because they need it for the coconuts that fall from the trees in the tropical areas.
All right, well, Pat, you're worried about viewership and satisfaction with viewership in sports.
But Travis Morikawa went on a little bit of a rant about golf and how the majors, which are coming up, and you guys know that better than I do. I don't really follow golf too much, but he was just ripping the PGA and I guess their new partnership with LIV about they don't do a really good job giving the viewers the best optimal experience, because you don't get to see every single swing. And it's something that our buddy Jamie's brought up plenty before when he was on the show with us, of why is it that you have to wait till a certain time to watch the majors, but they start at 7:00, and it seems like you got to go on some website to watch it. It's ridiculous, right? And he brings up a really good point, and Travis Morikawa basically said the same thing. Why are we doing this to our viewers? Our viewers want to consume golf. We're not giving them the amount of golf that they like to consume. I know if they're playing in St. Andrews, which is 6 hours ahead of here, and we come in, Bobby would likely come in at 4:45 in the morning, and what would you do? You would probably turn on the Golf Channel to watch, St. Andrews. But you can't do it because they don't play it. So they have these certain designated times where they play the majors, and it's ridiculous because we're at a point in technology where we can pretty much watch anything. I mean, any game whatsoever we can watch, but golf is stuck in the Stone Age. So I'll carry it over from golf because we know what they can do. They can just put everything on TV.
Yes.
But what about the other leagues? Is there something else that they can do to enhance your experience to make it a little bit better? And then I'll carry it over further. What league do you think does it the best? It gives you the best viewing condition from home. That you don't necessarily have to go to a game because you're like, the age-old adage of like, oh, I got a better seat in my house.
Yeah, I'll start because I've brought this up many times. I don't know why football games we can't have an all-22 camera watching the game.
An option, you mean?
Oh, God, yeah. Like, I would love every play for the camera to be back, for me to be able to see the whole play unfold, and then once it's played out, I don't know, a ball's thrown to a wide receiver. Okay, zoom in on that wide receiver, and now you're just seeing that. That's fine. I can't stand that the quarterback goes back, camera's on him, we see a ball being released. We have no idea where it's going. We have no idea who he's throwing to. We have no idea who else is running what. It's just follow ball, guy catches, guys tackled, boom, that's all. Then you go to the replay and you do individual stuff. I would love for it to pull back. And in hockey also, I think, John, I would love to be able to see every player on the ice, every player on the football field all at once.
It's weird because I go to your sport, your basketball, and I'm always I find myself still learning. I learn more and more about basketball the more you just sit around and you hear some of the bright minds talk about it. I always think that nowadays it's become, watch these ABC broadcasts, ESPN broadcasts, TNT even broadcasts. The guy bringing the ball up the court. It's like you have to get the close-up on the guy bringing it up the court. Then they finally switch to another shot that shows you where everybody else has gotten down the court. I would like the same thing you want in football. I'd love to see that in basketball.
And it's easier there because you only have 10 guys.
And I like sitting up. Like even in a stadium, the view, Pat, that like
you can see the play develop.
When they brought hockey to Atlanta,
yep,
and I was going to be working for the team, I had access to buy season tickets early. I picked first row, center ice, second level.
Yeah, that's my favorite spot to sit as well. You can see the play develop. It's cool to sit
right
down
there.
low because you can see the speed of the game. But generally speaking, if I go to a hockey game, I want to be sitting second level.
And second
exactly
level,
where
first row, and it was great.
I'm with that. Football and hockey, absolutely. Basketball, I like.
You want to be down.
I want to be on the
low.
floor. Yeah,
I want to be down low for basketball.
I think that they do I think packaging, like for me, I think it's so crazy how different every broadcast is. To me, I love the Fox broadcast, the analysis and things like that. But NBC, to me, NBC has the best visual presentation of the NFL. And I see a real difference, like between watching an NBC game, watching a CBS game, watching a CBS game for whatever reason. I always think the cameras are back further, it seems like.
That might just because they get the crappy games.
Or it's a director's choice, that maybe how they choose shots. But the NBC games, just to me, seem the most visually pleasing to me.
And you go to baseball, and like we have all noticed the difference in the cameras for Apple. When they have a baseball game, it's as clear as, it's really, really clear. And I think Apple has done a really good job of the viewing experience where you can not only have a better view because of their cameras, I don't know what they're using, but also you can listen to the local radio broadcast. It's synced up. It's awesome, right? Like
you can hear LA.
If you want
you
to
hear Fransky.
You have that option. I would love to see some of these leagues mic up players and have another feed on like an ESPN Plus or something where you could hear mic'd up action. And I know that they won't do it because they're terrified of what the players would say. No, I really do think it's language. I think it's like they're terrified of just a cursing fit, as if like we don't already know that happens. But I would love it. Like the NHL got away from doing the 24/7 series because I don't think they liked the perception of their players going at one another and not being all kumbaya. And it was awesome. Like, it was awesome to hear them just screaming at each other.
Fantastic.
Every other word was the F word, and it was great. And it was on HBO, and they did a great job with it. And it was just cool to see that like little glimpse into what it was like being in the NHL. But I think the NHL looked at it like, this is a little bit of a stain, a little bit of a black eye. And it was like, no, this is awesome. Like,
this is what people want.
I want more of this. It's on HBO, all right? Like, it's fine. They curse. I know they curse.
We work with Bob. We know this.
And keeping him away from the dump button is tough. But I would love if one of the leagues just said, you know what, screw it. The FCC violations, all that stuff. Like, we'll just put online.
Well, they wouldn't say screw it. They would say F it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, because.
But I just wish they would just like let it all out.
I like the different things. Like, I can't watch the Manningcast for more than like 10 minutes. Even when I watch it, I'll watch it for like 10 minutes, maybe be entertained. I'll see who the guest is. But I can't watch an Eagles game on the Manningcast.
No.
I can't watch a game that I'm desperately interested in with one of those side broadcasts. I love the college football national championship game where they have the coaches roundtable and they have like big name coaches sitting in there watching the game, commenting on it live. Like, I can do that because if I don't have a rooting interest in the game, listen to the coaches.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Manningcast. I like it a lot.
They're very talented.
The only reason I'll turn it off is because maybe if a guest is bad and it makes you feel uncomfortable watching it. But I love watching games to learn from different people. And like when Peyton Manning goes on, he goes, look at this here. Now, I know that's what gets on the nerves of people with Tony Romo sometimes. But Manning with that's what you're there for. Right? Him and Peyton. And like Eli. Yeah, people around here could hate Eli in the face, and the Eagles always beat him, and damn, he got those 2 Super Bowls. But when you listen to, this is what amazing, when you listen to him speak, he's right there with Peyton as far as smartness, as far as like, yeah, well, look at this. They're going to do this over here because they have this guy around. Watch this. Look, the replacement's coming in. I cherish that stuff. I do. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's they've created, look, between the Mannings and the Kelseys, they've come up with a cottage industry of their own.
Yeah.
As far as creating content and being really interesting about it. They do a fantastic job.
So I watched, sorry, Pat, I watched the Kelsey thing the other night, as I promised you guys I would, and I thought of you at one point, John.
What was that?
So I'm sorry, his wife's name Kylie? Kylie. She's pretty loose with the language.
Yes.
I adored it that she's sitting there and her 3-year-old is trying to talk to her while she's having a conversation with Jason, and she's having an adult conversation with him where she's just throwing S and F bombs around while her 3-year-old,
she's on the couch.
Yeah, and the 3-year-old's like trying to get her attention. I laughed because I was like, that was probably me when my kids were that age. And I know it wasn't you when your daughter was her age. But
Liv will be able to tell that she heard Dad curse once. Like I just
so far.
Exactly. She wasn't around me for all the games down the stretch this year. But it's just that made me uncomfortable. That was the only part of the documentary that made me uncomfortable. Is seeing the children walking around with the language. That's the only part of it. And I find them incredibly endearing. The parents, the children, everything. I loved the whole thing. And Kylie's very much true to herself. She's who she is. I just no.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't begrudge you on that. That's who I am in life. I curse when I'm mad. Like I do. And
we've learned that, right?
If my kids got me mad, I always had this.
But
in the
she was
back
just
of my
having
mind.
conversation about paying
$4,000
to take
50.
But it's $4,000 to take the kid to the game.
What
to
is
take
that
the one shot.
Yeah.
What the is that? I'm not effing playing that for and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. That's a conversation that would never go on in our house when we had children. It might go on today when it's just empty nest. She's at college and it's just me and Christina.
Yeah, I mean,
and she's the cursor, not me, by the way.
Yeah, I just knew if I got mad around my friends or anything, things are going to come out of my mouth. If I get mad around my kids when they were younger, things are going to come out of my mouth. That's who I am. If they looked at me in front of my friends and were like, "Oh my God, I never heard him do that before. Who is he?" That would upset me more than them knowing a few curse words at 8 and 10 years old.
While on steroids this whole year, while I was doing the chemo and everything, and they had to put me on the heavy steroids, I was cursing like a sailor in the house. And Christina goes, "Whoa! What are you doing? You never curse." And I was cursing. I was finding and now it's all subsiding. So now it's all back to, okay, he's never cursing anymore. It's just you get souped up. You get ready to go. We await the word on the MRI and what's the big mystery. But I got some numbers on Vic Fangio defenses that are going to make you smile. Plus, game time at the bottom of the hour. Fabulous prizes. I know that Brendan's going to block out those lines so we don't get any cheaters because everybody wants their hands on them. John Kincaid Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. If you're a real Philly
Cage Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I got a good game for us for game time, Pat.
Find the host.
John Kincaid.
Find the host. I think he left.
Yeah. He didn't want to play today.
Took a bathroom trip.
Which one did you go to?
I went to the close one.
I thought you were going to say, which one did you go?
I went to the close one. I didn't go to the one where I always get interrogated.
I've never seen anyone up there.
I keep looking. I haven't seen anybody.
And I go up there all the time, and I've never ran into this guy.
I have been interrogated 3 different times going up to that level to do it. 3 different times, somebody caring why I was up on that floor. Now, also odd hours could be part of it.
We don't have normal hours.
Why don't you usually go up during the course of a show to another level to use the facilities? But and I saw
That's
Mike
my go-to.
And then I saw Mike Vito too. So
jeez.
I like Mike Vito.
No, I do too. But every conversation with Mike Vito is going to be a 5-minute conversation because he's got to giggle through it. But
he's interesting.
And that's probably what happened.
Wow.
Is he's sitting there and he's keeping you from doing the show that we're supposed to do.
Well, he's interesting.
Come on, Vito, be better.
Hey, wait a second. Hold on. Time out.
Yeah. You got something to say?
So Vito giggles through everything he said. I never noticed this before.
Oh yeah, you'll notice it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Giggle may knock you into next week.
He just ran in and he started cursing me.
There you go. See, there it is.
Thank you for listening, Mike.
Good.
Appreciate it, bud.
Well, as we have game time coming up at the bottom of the hour, I always enjoy. Again, I always will tell you where if I get content that I'm borrowing. Shane Half, and I tell you to follow him on Twitter. I think he's a fantastic follow. Shane Half, NFL, HAFF. Fantastic guy. And I've been asked by people, no, I do not know Shane. So I'm not pimping somebody that just trying to get him a following. He's excellent at what he does. He did a look at Vic Fangio's defenses. Pat, how much do you buy into the DVOA?
What is the DVOA?
You haven't renewed your driver's license later?
DVOA.
The defense adjusted value over average?
What in the world is that?
Now, the thing is, baseball crap like this.
I kind of.
That
keyword crap.
You like, no, I'm spinning it as that guy because I tend to look at it as, I tend to look at it as there's a lot of analytical crap.
Yeah, I didn't get in a temple, and you're just sitting here asking me to break down DVOA. Now, take it away, Chief.
Well, but I can ask you. It's the defense adjusted value over average. Come on, Pat.
What in the world? What does that mean?
It tells you that who are the top teams in the league using advanced analytics. I love this because it's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you right now, when I look at stats, I can guarantee you this. I will never go to DVOA, just like I'll never go to WAR. For baseball, I'll never go to DVOA.
Well, I mean, I think, Pat, then I would understand where you would go then. You would go to EPA.
What is that? What are we doing? You're just throwing letters out there and just making stuff up.
EPA is the new great statistic that includes penalties and does not penalize quarterbacks for fumbles on completed passes.
What do you think about YP ampersand? What do you think about that one?
I'm just laughing, and I did this on purpose because I swear to you, I knew DVOA. I did not know what EPA was. I thought it was something that was worried about the environment. And but what it tells you is that they stack defenses and go, don't just look at all the numbers these ways. These are the numbers you really want to look at. We're breaking it down for you. In Vic Fangio defenses since 2011. Okay, so his defenses since then rank 3rd, 4th, 13th, 5th, 31st, 22nd when he went to Chicago. 31st, 22nd, 14th, 1st. Then he went to Denver, 13th, 20th. Then this past year, 19th. Since 2011, his defenses would put him as you'd be talking about a guy who is in the top 5 consistently of defensive coordinators, but so many defensive coordinators change and jump in and out. His defenses are really, really good. And he had one outlier year, which was his first year in Chicago when they were terrible. When they took over a bad Chicago team, and he took them from 31st in 2015 to 1st in 2018. That was the double doink. The famous double doink year.
Yeah, he had Khalil Mack that year.
Oh
right?
my gosh, they went and acquired that and did it. There are numbers on Vic that show you over and over again. You may not get the third year, the first year, all the time, the fourth year, but there's a lot of 12, 10, 14, 13. He's going to give you a defense that with this offense gives you a chance to win. History would indicate he's going to create a defense that is going to absolutely give this offense a chance to win them games. But they're going to still have to win. And with the talent on the offensive side of the ball, they're going to have to win. They're winning games with offense next year, and they couldn't do that this year. Kellen Moore's got more on his shoulders, I think, because I believe he's going to bring his track record says he's going to make them competent quickly. He might make them middle of the pack next year, but middle of the pack would be a huge improvement over 30th, where you end up this
now
year.
You're talking defense.
Yeah, defense.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Vic is what I'm saying is that, but that helps the offense. The offense doesn't have as much. The offense should be able to win games when you have a competent defense, and that's what Vic Fangio does. He gives you. He only has.
Gives you competent defenses.
Well, he only has 2 outlier years, where he's giving you a defense that's like bottom third of the league ever, and one of them was taking over a terrible franchise the first year, and he brought them from 31st to first in the league in 4 seasons under his guidance.
Yeah, I saw those numbers the other day, and I was going to average them out. I would assume they average out around 12, 11-ish, somewhere, right, which is like, upper half of the league. It's competent, like you say.
They're going to give you a good chance, right? With this offense,
but I'd like a good chance because of the defense.
I think that is a good chance because of the defense. It's so thin. The razor-thin numbers, like like right now, if you wanted to go from being the 7th best points per game to the 12th best, it's not even a point. It's not even a point. Like you're talking about it being on average, it's like going from giving up 20 points a game to giving up 21 points a game. A bunch of teams are all in that one big lump.
Yeah. I know Vic Fangio's name because he's been around for a while. I've heard that he's a good defensive coordinator. All of those things. That's good. All right, you got somebody that has respect. The only thing that would put me over the top before a season starts would be this. Vic, what kind of defense are you going to run here? Like, there's been talk of this, and I would love for him to say, yeah, I don't know yet because I need to see these players on the field. Then I'll let you know because I want to find who's best at doing what. And I want to say to you that, yes, I love to drop defensive ends back into coverage, but because I looked at Hassan Reddick on film, I'm not doing that with him because I think he's better at rushing the passer. I'm not going to take that away from him.
You can't do that.
Well, if you have a passer at quarterback, sure you can. I want to hear. I love when coaches say that they don't know exactly what they're going to do until they see their talent. And I think Vic Fangio, from what I've heard, is good enough to do that.
He's taken over in places and improved them 3 different times where he's come in and taken over a bad defense. But the one thing I look at is he wants young. I looked at some of the first years, and when he goes, he wants young guys. I don't think he wants old guys. I don't think this is going to be a let's go to free agency and look for the shiniest toy on the shelf. I think it's going to be more along the lines of find complementary pieces in free agency and draft the next level of impact players that are for the future of the Eagles.
Well, then that goes directly against your offense. This offense is built to win now.
Right.
It is with a couple older guys on the offensive line. With you don't know about the wide receivers. Are you going to get them long term here? That offense is built to win now. I don't know if you can afford to have that patience on defense.
Yeah. Do you think that? Well, what it would say to you is, Pat, do you think that the coaching was just so bad that this defensive talent isn't as bad?
Yes.
So you believe that?
Yeah. I think there's definitely a gray area, but for the most part, I think the coaching was putrid. I think it's some of the worst coaching we've seen in quite some time in the Eagles sideline. And there were too many guys that just they went from playing at a Pro Bowl, All-Pro level to
1 year
looking like they would get drafted in the 7th round of the draft. It's just the common denominator there was, well, you had so much dysfunction going on the defensive side of the ball. You have Josh Sweat going 2 months without a sack. Had that happened in his entire NFL career?
No.
To simplify things, like your guy, Hassan Reddick, Pat, right? And you were the first to point out, like, look, oh, my God, look how much he's dropping back in the coverage.
It was ridiculous.
Did you ever see him make a play when he dropped back in the coverage? And I'm being totally honest.
I swear to you,
Did he make a tackle?
No.
Did he break up a pass?
But he wasn't predictable. Let's remember
I just
that.
couldn't believe that.
It was unpredictable.
I was like, okay, you're doing something different, but it's not doing anything. So, like, it was coaching. The horribleness of the coaching to me was unbelievable in those last 7 games.
All right, Pat, it's time for you to change the tone of the Thursday show. Optimism, great prizes, game time.
Yes, gentlemen, it is game time. 610-632-0975. Little story we started the show with, and it became a topical one, is trading A.J. Brown. Would you not? Stupid conversation, gentlemen. I'll tell you why. Because A.J. Brown comes with a $42 million dead cap hit. Do you know where that would rank in terms of dead cap hit trades if that would have happened, where that would rank in NFL history?
Number one?
Number one.
Number one.
Number one. It would
So
be
why
the
was this
highest dead
nonsense
cap
being
money.
even talked about?
Good question. Okay, so the game today is going to be the other guys, right? Who is the highest in dead cap? And then we'll go down the list.
I like this.
So I'm going to give you a clue, and you guys just have to, figure it out. And if the caller gets it correct, then they win a fabulous prize. And if the caller does not get it correct, they will be ridiculed and mocked unmercilessly. They will be playing with one of you gentlemen. We'll go back and forth. So John will start out, and then Bob, and then so forth and so on. Kenny in South Philly will start, but until
okay.
I just want to break down the prizes. Everybody will get a box of Wise chips. It's 20 bags per box, 20 bags of snacks. So it's a lot. Wise Snacks is giving away authentic pro football jerseys to 100 lucky fans. Munch the good vibe on game day with Wise Snacks. Go to wisegameday.com for your chance to win. We also have a pair of tickets for the Flyers Jets next Thursday. We have a pair of tickets to go see the Sixers and Mavs on Monday. A pair of tickets to go see Temple battle Memphis on Thursday. We have a pair of tickets to go see Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper Ministry, and Filter on September 8th at Freedom Mortgage Pavilion. A pair of tickets to go see the Doobie Brothers and Steve Winwood on Saturday, August 3rd at Freedom Mortgage Pavilion. And Wonka, the Willy Wonka movie, on digital. All right, Kenny in South Philly will be playing with John Kincaid.
Good morning, Kenny.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great show.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, this is the number one guy, okay? The highest dead cap money in NFL history. He also was a Boston College quarterback.
Kenny,
Who is he?
Kenny, am I his lifeline?
Yes, you are the lifeline.
Kenny, I got the answer to this one if you do not.
John. Come on, give it to him.
Boston College and Exton, Pennsylvania's own Matt Ryan.
Yes, Matt Ryan. When he moved on from the Falcons, he left them with a $40.53 million dead cap hit. But Kenny, good news for you is that dead cap hit just won you tickets to go see the Flyers Jets on Thursday at Wells Fargo Center. Get tickets at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com and also the box of Wise chips,
which is also a winner with the big game coming up.
Yes, Jarrett in Levittown.
$40 million.
Yeah, $40 million. That's number one. Jarrett in Levittown is next, and he'll be playing with Bob Cooney.
What's up, Jarrett?
How's it going?
Good.
All right. The hint, Jarrett, is that this player likes going on darkness retreats and tanning a certain sensitive area of his body. Who is he? He also dated such dime pieces like Olivia Munn.
Danica Patrick.
No, she's not a dime. She's a nickel.
Are you going to your lifeline?
Yeah, I'm going to my lifeline.
I got you, buddy. Let's go, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is correct. When he left the Packers for the Jets, $40.31 million dead cap hit. Second all-time in NFL history, but it does win Jarrett a pair of tickets to go see Temple battling Memphis next Thursday at the Liacouras Center. A pair of tickets to see Temple battling Memphis next Thursday at the Liacouras Center. That's what we give away.
Let me ask you something. $40 million and the Packers last year made the playoffs and won a game.
Yeah, impressive.
That is really impressive.
Yeah, it is.
And that was. I'm sure they had more dead money than that.
Yeah,
that's just one guy.
Well,
Wow.
that one guy just won him Temple Memphis tickets. Go to alistix.com for all details. Rich in Cherry Hill is next. He's going to be playing with John.
Hi, Rich.
Hey, good morning, guys. You got the best show.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, this quarterback who is known for deflating balls and winning 7 Super Bowls along the way.
Yeah.
This is a tough one. Tom Brady is correct. Yes. Yes,
well,
Tom.
you made that easy, Pat.
It was a tough one. Yes, $35.1 million dead cap hit. And the cap was on the books for the 2023 season, so that was last year for the Bucs.
And the Bucs made the playoffs and won a game.
You're making it worse. You're making it worse by bringing this up. Yep. Who'd they beat? Why don't you just really dive the knife right into the heart? Rich ends up winning a pair of tickets to the Sixers and Mavs on Monday at Wells Fargo Center. Purchase tickets for any 76ers game. Visit Ticketmaster.com/76ers. All right, Mo in Warrington is next. He's going to be playing with Bob.
What's up, Mo?
Hey, morning, boys.
All right. Bobby, this weirdo was known for horrible fashion sense, duck hunting, and injuries. Who is he?
That would be that scumbag Carson Wentz.
Oh,
Carson Wentz. Hey, your words, not mine.
That's right. Way to go, Mo.
I thought the number was low. I thought it was 50 mil. I said it earlier.
I thought it was more than that.
No, 33.8. He gave the Eagles a discount, but he also gave Mo tickets to go see Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper Ministry, and Filter on September 8th, Freedom Mortgage Pavilion. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. The pre-sale is today, 10 a.m. through 10 p.m. The password is energy. But Mo doesn't need it. He just won.
Golfed behind Alice Cooper once.
He's a great golfer.
He was a fantastic golfer.
He's played on the senior tour, I believe. He's incredible.
I played behind him in a celebrity pro-am, and he was incredible to watch. It was unbelievable.
He's really, really good.
Really good.
Very nice guy. Met him one time at his bar in, I believe it was in Phoenix, where I watched the Eagles, Minnesota. Yeah,
that's cool.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, seems like an all right fella. Yeah. Let's go to John in the Northeast. He's next.
Hi, John.
What do you say, boys?
Let's see if we can get you a winner, John.
All right, John, you're playing with John. This guy, at one point, probably we wanted him. Now he's just using his money to chomp down on Subway subs.
I think I know, John, if you do not.
I think this is a guy Tunis was a big fan of. Russell Wilson?
Yes,
Russell
it is.
Wilson
Good job, John.
Correct. When he left the Seattle Seahawks, he left them with a $26 million dead cap hit.
That's not that.
It's not horrible, but it's
not
fifth all
horrible,
time.
but it's still one of the biggest of all time. It's
Fifth all
amazing.
time. Wins John Wonka on digital. Buy it now and get $3 off the digital movies at WB.com/candy. Let's go to Sean in Mount Laurel's playing with Bobby.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
How you doing?
With this guy is the 6th largest dead cap in NFL history. He was a member of the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. Who is he?
So it's Julio Jones.
Julio Jones, you crushed it. Sean, I didn't give much there,
I didn't get
and
that.
you nailed
I
that.
didn't
Yes.
get that.
Sean.
When Julio Jones...
I grew up a Falcons fan, and Matt Ryan's brother was actually my student teacher in the 5th grade.
You're kidding me.
That's pretty
What are the
good
odds of
stuff.
that?
That's good stuff, Sean.
Sean, yeah, that's
Give him some
impressive,
extra
man.
stuff for that, Pat.
Well, he wins the box of Wise chips. We'll also give him Flyers and Jets tickets for next Thursday.
Oh, sweet.
Wells Fargo Center. He's very excited about that. Tickets at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com and give him Wonka on digital because I gave him nothing for that. I just said he was on the team.
And Matt's brother, I mean, a teacher. That's great.
That's pretty cool. And by the way, $23.25 million dead cap
I would not
hit
have gotten that
when he
answer.
went to the Titans. I wouldn't have gotten it either. I would have to really think about that one. Anthony and Delco's next. He's going to be playing with John.
Anthony.
Morning, boys. How are you?
All right, man, let's make this a winner.
Speaking of the Titans, when this guy went to the Titans, he left his previous team with a $22.6 million dead cap hit. Who is he? And his mother.
Anthony. Very good, Anthony.
Absolutely.
You got it already.
Anthony, I was going to give you another hint, but you don't need it because you're
Excellent
that
job.
good. Yes, you're going to end up wearing a pair of tickets to go see Temple battling Memphis next Thursday at the Lee Course Center. To purchase tickets, go to alistix.com. And also the Wonka on digital. We'll give them that. And then the Wise snacks.
That works out beautiful.
Deke in North Wales is up with Bobby.
What's up, Deke?
Yo, what's going on?
Let's get it done.
Deke,
Go, Bobby.
we at one point as Eagles fans laughed about the fact that this guy went number 1 overall, but he almost led his team to the Super Bowl. Who is he? I should say he almost led his team to the Super Bowl this year. He actually did play in a Super Bowl.
Was it? He's eliminated right now.
I'm not gonna tell you. If
he's got
you
your
need a
lifelines.
you
Got
can
you.
use it.
There you go.
Oh, you said it.
Yeah. No, I heard. Deke, I heard what I needed to hear. Jared Goff is correct.
Good job, Deke.
When he left the Rams, he left them with a $22.2 million dead cap hit.
I didn't realize that either.
Well,
much.
Well, that's we educate people on the
Wow.
show, John. And by the way, Deke is going to go to the Doobie Brothers with Steve Winwood on Saturday, August 3rd. Freedom Mortgage Pavilion. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. Let's get a couple more in here.
I think Deke is a Doobie Brother guy.
Let's go to Brenton in Harrisburg.
Or a Doobie guy. Brenton. What's up, Brenton?
Good morning, guys.
Hey, buddy.
All right. This wide receiver, most notably known in Philly for getting knocked out after getting hit by Malcolm Jenkins in the Super Bowl. Who is he?
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks is correct. Brenton from the stairwell, crushing that one. And Brenton, you were going to end up winning. Let's give you the pair of tickets to go see the Doobie Brothers and Steve Winwood on Saturday, August 3rd, Freedom Mortgage Pavilion. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. We haven't gotten one wrong yet. And let's finish it up.
Last
finish
it up with spectacular.
Mike and Autobahn is up next.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right, this one's a little tough. All right. This wide receiver from Penn State was always rumored to be coming to the Eagles, but never did. Ultimately, he ended up with the Bears. Who is he?
Ooh. Can I have some help with this one?
Yeah, that's me, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it is you.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, he's fifth. He ranks top 5 in school history with both receptions and receiving yards for Penn State.
I swear
need
to
a
I'm
lifeline
stuck.
too. I don't have this one either.
4, 3.
Oh, no, it broke the
2.
streak.
Damn. I
Bobby,
apologize,
like,
Mike.
no, Mike, I apologize, man. Like that's on Bob. The answer is Allen Robinson, obviously, and it's not Bob's fault.
wow.
It's just he's
Allen
not.
Robinson left somebody with a huge cap hit?
Tried $21.45 million when he left the Jags. Yeah,
Wow.
10th largest all time. Mike, you'll get the bag of Wise chips. I'll also throw in the Temple tickets. Temple battling Memphis next Thursday. It's not your fault that Bob doesn't know football. It's fine. He's a basketball guy. We're all disappointing you, Bobby.
No, I'm disappointed in myself. I'm Allen Robinson.
And I didn't mean to expose you like this on the air.
Yeah, it's
how much
not
of
a
a cap
football
hit did
guy.
he have left? Did he leave?
21 mil.
Wow.
Okay,
where
that's
is it?
incredible to me.
I got it right here. He left the Jags with a 21.45 dead cap hit.
Wow.
I can't even believe that because of watching Allen Robinson's early career.
I'm sorry.
I'm
It might be
shocked.
the Bears. It might be the Bears because it says the cap hit was on the books.
Yeah,
for
it was on the
2022.
Bears.
So it was on the Bears. I'm sorry, but yeah, he left the Bears with a 20 because that was a big time
I
signing.
apologize, Mike. I didn't have that in my mind at all.
Well, it's something that me and John have talked about privately. Is the
when you
football
first
knowledge?
said wide receiver, I was thinking like maybe Antonio Brown, something like that. But then you went Penn State.
Wow,
on
that's
me.
incredible.
I was like,
No,
damn.
he doesn't. No,
Plus, he left
Man.
the Steelers a lot.
Bob, it's fine,
Wow.
man. It's just
No,
It's fine. You're not a football guy.
It's
I
not-
need
you're not
Mike
a
V to
football
come
guy.
here and giggle at me or
You don't-
something
you
to
don't
make me feel better.
You don't know DVOA.
Just accept
So
it.
it's-
Or EPA.
Yeah, you don't know EPA, DVOA, and YT ampersand. Like, it's fine, dude. You just, when we want basketball stuff, we'll come to you.
All right, who would know?
Hey,
Who would know all of these crazy statistical
Virgins.
here? I understand here
Oh.
at the station.
Here,
Somebody at this station has to know those terms. Like, oh yeah, I know what all these DVOA.
I could see, in all honesty,
EPA.
I could see Ray Dunn
That's
knowing
what I was
some
gonna
of them.
say.
Ray, because Ray knows them in baseball.
Yeah, so I could see him knowing some of them. I could
Stats
see.
Monarch. Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, he
Stats
would.
Monarch probably does.
so your normal human being doesn't know what the hell
Yes.
EVOA
Right.
or whatever.
The normal.
I mean, if you're a football guy, you know it, obviously, and you
I'm
live by
not.
it.
I just proved
Yeah.
that. So thank you.
Hey, Moore, will we find out more about Joel Embiid today? More importantly, what does this story even mean to the Sixers' long-term chances? We'll get to that next. John Kincaid Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, happy Super Bowl, everybody, from FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge, America's #1 sports
Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincaid Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
So we got to the bottom of, if you want to deal with clickbait, you deal with the A.J. Brown story. I have no idea why A.J. doesn't just shut it down, but that's up to A.J. We've dealt with that this morning. We're waiting on word of a Joel Embiid MRI result. And I thought that was pretty funny that our listener suggested that it would come tomorrow because tomorrow is Groundhog Day. Because we've been through this one before.
That was pretty good.
We've been through this one before and before and before. I ask you right now, though, is where if Joel Embiid, if he misses 3 weeks, 2 weeks of games, and then he misses, and everything. And by the way, whatever happens here, he better not play in the All-Star game. If they say he has to take a little time just to rest a few games for his knee, he better not be playing in the All-Star game under any circumstances. Under any circumstances.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, he better not. Because last year he played dinged up before it, and then he went out and played significant minutes. You've now fallen behind the Knicks and the Cavs in the East. You're now the 5 seed. If this is a significant injury where he would miss like 3 weeks, everyone's talking about will your spring be ruined? I don't know. The way the Knicks are shopping to add even more, I'm not so sure that the damage won't be done in the next 3 weeks. That just hampers their chances where no home court advantage at all and an absolutely brutal road to try to get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, like I said, they've played 48 games. There's still an awful lot of games. No, I'm wrong. 46 games. Still a lot of games to go. A lot hinges on this injury. You're right, John. Have the Knicks had their 5-game losing streak that every team has during a season? Has Milwaukee found something with Doc Rivers or not? They're 0-2 with them behind the bench so far. Is that a big thing? There's many questions still to be played out. Sure, you want the top 2-3 seed. You want to be able to get some home court advantage, all of those things. But they've been in every seeding every year. Like they've been a 1, they've been a 2, they've been a 3, and they still just don't get out of that second round. I
just think if they don't have home court advantage in any series, like if they end up the 5 seed, 6 seed, I don't see it. No matter if Joel Embiid comes back healthy or not, I don't see them doing what they've never done then with the hardest path. And maybe that's just me doubting them due to history, and that may be unfair.
No, it's not. That's common sense. That's 99.9% of the way people are thinking. They haven't got out of the second round, so why would you think having a lower seed makes it better for them to get out of the second round? No, the better way for them to get out is to have home court, is to maybe get that second seed if you can, is to have Joel Embiid healthy and playing. I'll tell you, that's the first and foremost. But I wrote this in our notes the other day, and and I started thinking of it last week. Embiid injury is always going to be number one. But, man, the injuries to everybody else is starting to add up, too.
Oh, well, they have.
And, like, Nick Batum, who I called in the middle of the year, like, he's kind of that glue piece, and I still think that when he's playing well. But he is older, and he is susceptible to injury, and he's been getting them at an alarming rate over the last month of the season. Of course, Maxey with an ankle. That's never good. DeAnthony Melton with a back. You know, as it is, your peripheral pieces were playing well in that you said, okay, I would like for them to go for another piece, but is it mandatory to get a star or just add to what these pieces you have? Well, now these pieces that you have, a Marcus Morris, a Batum, a DeAnthony Melton, Tobias Harris just with the sickness, like they're starting to get hurt too often now too.
And they
Normal stuff during the course of the season, I guess, but when you have older players like a Nick Batum and a Marcus Morris that you're counting on for peripheral pieces, and they're not available at a little bit of an alarming rate, yeah, that's bad too.
I'm gonna say it that I would look at it this way, is that the amount of the situation they're in right now, I think lends itself to not going all in on this year at the trade deadline. If Joel Embiid's going to miss significant time here, you're going to be really behind the eight ball. I do not want to see Daryl Morey at the trade deadline go all in to try to hit some home run that is potentially going to change the trajectory of this team for this year. And I know for some people, like, wait. It's not a good opportunity to win this year. If Joel is going to be hobbled and if he's going to be missing for like 3 or 4 weeks. I heard them having a great discussion yesterday with Ricky, Tyrone, and Jen on the best show ever about this. And I wouldn't want to be all in this year if you're gonna start the playoffs as a 5 seed or 6 seed. Yeah, like I don't want to be all in. I'd rather have the assets that you just went and recovered. I'd rather have you wait and use those assets more in an off season or do something. But to push all your chips in the center of the table this year, your most inopportune year, record-wise, I wouldn't do it. And I don't think a lot of Sixers fans would want to hear that, by the way.
Yeah, well, you need assurance as to where your people are health-wise. And if, this MRI comes back and it says, no, he should be fine in like a week or so and proceed accordingly, well, then I'm looking at how this team played when fully healthy and saying, all right, what do I need to add? Now, the thing that sucks is, and I'll bring it up again, Nick Nurse was ready to make a move with that starting lineup. He was ready to say, all right, here we go. Kelly Oubre's going in the starting lineup. DeAnthony Melton I'm going to have coming off the bench. He's going to play with that second unit that includes Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Patrick Beverly. He's going to be a defender on that second unit, an offensive player on that second unit. Kelly Oubre, for what he lacks defensively, and this is Nick Nurse speaking, I can have him on the floor with Joel Embiid as a starter because Embiid's that good of a defender. And he was ready to concoct this thing and get it ready to see what he has in the final part of the season to go into the playoffs and to go into the trade deadline to see what they may need. And then DeAnthony Melton gets hurt. And then Joel Embiid gets hurt. And then Marcus Morris is out for a little bit. And then Tobias Harris is sick. And then Tyrese Maxey turns an ankle. Well, as much as you want to say, well, Daryl Morey should have enough in his back pocket to know what he needs, you just don't. You don't when you don't see it on the floor. And what Nick Nurse wanted to do was taken out from under him because of injuries, and they haven't been able to address it since.
Where I wonder, Pat, where you think they're going to go as far as let's say Embiid is going to be out until late February.
Yeah.
So like 3 weeks. Do you see it being where in the next 8 days, the next week, 7 days, the next 7 days, Daryl Morey goes, well, then I got to go all in? Or do you see it being that, dude, this is just not our year. This is not, I can wait till the offseason because you just recoup those assets. I just don't want to see them thrown to the center of the table right now.
Yeah, I understand that. I think you're in the middle. I definitely don't think it's all in, and I'm just going to throw every asset out there to grab somebody. But I don't think it's, this just ain't our year because we're missing Joel Embiid for 3 weeks. Because they'll tell you, well, when Joel Embiid is healthy and when the entire team is healthy, it doesn't matter what seed they are, they can beat anybody. And it's hard to argue with that. I mean, when we have seen this team healthy, they're really, really good. It's going to be difficult because the stretch coming up, you've got some really good teams. You've got Dallas coming in. You've got Golden State coming in. Miami, New York, Cleveland, Milwaukee. Like, he'd be missing some big games. Boston at the end of the month. So he would be missing some big games. But ultimately, they just might not care. And if you're Daryl Morey, you might be looking at a veteran buyout market to grab somebody.
We never seem to be able to get anybody on that, though.
Yep. And trust me, that is, I'm well aware of that. But he might think that this year he could end up convincing somebody. So I don't think necessarily they need to go out and make a big splash. I would just stand pat at this point because when they have had their guys and they have had these vets that they traded for, they have looked really, really good. But I don't want to see them just trade for the sake of making a trade when Joel Embiid isn't healthy But I also would say that if they don't make a trade and they just stand pat, I don't see that as a sign of, this just ain't going to be our year. Because if they can enter the postseason with Joel Embiid 100% healthy, then I guess they have they have a chance. I guess.
A chance for what? A championship? Can they beat? I still think you need another piece. So that's why I say, like, if you can get the assurance, okay, Embiid's going to be okay this year. It's not going to be something that lingers. He will get over it. If I can get assurance that, all right, Nick Batum, all these little injuries that you keep getting, is this normal? Is this going to keep happening? Are you going to be available for 25 to 28 a night come playoff time? All of those things. If I get good answers on all that, I still think, Pat, I would use a little bit of the assets to get another bench player.
So I guess that asset would probably be like an expiring contract because I have no problem giving up Rocco.
Yeah, he's your most available.
If you want to give up Rocco, go ahead. So you might be looking at a situation where you give up Rocco for a guy that's a bench piece, but is signed for next season because I believe D'Anthony Melton's deal is up next season too. So you're going to have to decide on there. So Daryl Morey might be playing the long game with this of taking salary on from another team, giving them salary relief, but also getting a bench piece for the run and then also for next season that could possibly take over for D'Anthony Melton if he were to leave in free agency.
Yeah, and then you know there's Kelly Oubre. There's Oubre. They only signed for a year, right?
1 year, yeah. He's going to be looking to get
Nick
paid.
Batum. I don't know how long they signed him for. There's going to be wholesale changes. It's going to be weird next year. That lends you to say, well, maybe you do go all in this year if you think they're close. I don't know.
I just look at it as like the discussion is that, you know, along the lines of, well, is your spring going to be ruined while we wait for the word on Joel Embiid? If Joel Embiid's out 3 weeks, I think spring has a great chance to be ruined. And Terrence points out here on Twitter, well, the Miami Heat went to the finals a few years ago as an 8 seed. So it's not like it hasn't happened. It's not like we haven't seen teams. It is the more I think being in the top 4 tends to be your path to get to the conference finals or NBA finals.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, having to beat, say, a 3 seed, a 2 seed, and a 1 seed. Maybe you have to beat all those to try to get to the finals. That's tough. I think there is some parity among 3 and 5, 3 and 6 when you're talking about, or 2 and 6, like when you're talking about Milwaukee, the Sixers, the Knicks. And you got to keep an eye on the Knicks. You know,
Knicks
like
are loading up too. They're still. They think they're going to be out getting another big piece.
They went 14-2 or something.
They're rolling.
January.
Man.
Yeah, they're
Jalen
crushing
Brunson's
it.
playing great basketball. The problem is playing a full season under that coach is just tough. He grades on people, and I know that from talking to people. So I would say a lot of parity among 2 and 6. Miami, the Sixers, the Knicks, Milwaukee. I think Boston is head and shoulders. And
Cleveland.
Oh,
Cleveland's
okay.
good too.
Yeah. I don't trust Donovan Mitchell. I just don't. He reminds me kind of Russell Westbrook, where great numbers, really good player. Don't know if you can win with him. In that capacity, yeah.
Lots coming. If you need to know what's going on with Joel Embiid, you'll hear it as soon as it breaks, whether it's with us before we get out of here, middays with Andrew, or later on today on the best show ever. The 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's, and for details, go to Bagster.com. It's as we wait now, and we're following all this contrived drama that people are trying to clickbait you in on A.J. Brown, who is not being traded and who is not being talked about being traded. It doesn't make any sense.
I blame you.
Why?
Because somebody outside here reminded me that 2 weeks ago you brought it up.
No, I said this is going to be the story of the offseason.
You said that A.J. Brown was going to be traded.
No, I said this would be the story of the offseason.
No, you said that A.J. Brown was going to be traded.
A.J. Brown trade talks that this would become the story of the offseason.
You said, and I quote, the exact phrase was, I don't think A.J. Brown's going to be here next year.
I got a weird feeling. I had a weird feeling at the time. And I knew that there was something brewing because he was being so
Put your
odd.
Hand up. Put your hand up and take
it's being so odd with the whole thing.
You did actually put your hand up.
I did put my hand up.
I think you did. I think you just did that instinct.
No,
I thought he was going to turn and give you the finger.
That's what I thought too.
No, YouTube audience can pick one. No, it's the idea. I just sensed that there was something weird going on with this story. And now it's played out. It is weird. He's in a bad place right now.
I don't think he is.
He didn't put a story out there, though. It was just put out innocuously by somebody else, and now he was asked about it.
But what do you do? Do you shut it down? You shut the story down. You say, I'm shutting the story down. It's no. Do I expect to be catching passes for the Philadelphia Eagles this year? He was asked clearly. So you're expecting to be catching passes for the Eagles this year? I'm just going to worry about taking care of my family. What? Like that doesn't make sense to me. You want to end any nonsense out there.
If he's off social media,
obviously not, because he can quote what people are saying on social media.
Well, he was led into the question. If he's off social media and doesn't know that somebody just made this up, and he's thinking, wow, is there something more going on here than I know? And they ask him the questions, you're going to be catching for the Eagles? And he's like, I'm worried
about taking care of my family?
Myself.
What?
Like, I don't look, where's all this coming from?
If he was off social media, if someone asked him that question, he'd go, where's that coming from? I know nothing about that. He's on social media. He says he's off, but he's on.
Well, being off social media and being off the grid are two different things. I mean, you could be off social media and then your buddy sends you a tweet and it says, and you can read the tweet just in the text and it says, A.J. Brown traded for so-and-so.
And you're getting all distracted by social media again.
Yeah, but you didn't want it, though.
Then
you didn't ask for that. You're off social media. It's much of like, hey, I DVR'd the Phillies game. You don't know I DVR'd the Phillies game, so you text me about the score. I mean, is he supposed to let everybody and their mother know that he doesn't want to be on social media? Maybe he got a text from a buddy that didn't know. Because that guy's off social media, but then he got back on social media.
This
is what True Detective Season 4 is all about, by the way, if you haven't checked it out.
It really is. It is good.
It's all about the A.J. Brown saga.
Right. Well, we're in real stuff. David wants to jump in on this. David, good morning. You're on the Fanatic. What's up, buddy?
Hey, listen, I think A.J. is more upset because you know how he had went off a little on Jalen. He was talking a little at the end of the season, and then you the star, and then you dropped the pass in both of the last games that was important. You fumbled, you limped off, and you're in the room hollering, hey, how's everybody doing? But then you didn't play in the playoff game. So when you start talking like that and then you come out fumbling, that gets to you a little mentally. That's why I think he realized, shut up when you're in Philadelphia, because it get ran the wrong way. If you say the wrong something, they can twist it. So I believe he's just being quiet.
That could be. I mean, then he's doing media tours, though, David.
Hey, and can I ask y'all one other question, a little bit different? When they was talking about bringing Belichick in, do you guys think that's okay, seeing that he cheated us?
Well, they weren't
going to help him break his record.
They weren't bringing it. They weren't bringing in Belichick, David. I believe that is completely false.
What was it? One guy up in and he used a weird word in like channeling, back channels. I have no idea what he's talking about.
I don't think the Eagles made any run at Bill Belichick. I don't believe for a second.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that's the case. Look, I get it. Is the right now where they're at and where this story's at, there's other issues with the Eagles. Pat has an issue with the linebacker situation. And you're still going back to Howie's press conference as far as because this is something that really does speak to organizational philosophy. Pat, the idea that Howie Roseman, he still it sounds like he believes that linebacker's not a problem.
He doesn't think it's a problem. Now I'll ask you guys. You guys have watched a lot of Eagles football. What's the biggest problem with the Eagles the last 30 years? Position group.
Position group linebacker. It is.
Bobby, you got a different one?
No, long snapper's been great. No, I'm going to have to go linebacker, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, linebacker would be it. I'd say so. So Howie Roseman, I'm going to try to find the cut for you, but Howie Roseman goes on the Nick Sirianni, when they get up there and they finally speak, unprompted, just starts defending the linebacker play.
And it wasn't even asked.
No, and Bob, you brought that up. Like, it wasn't even. He
was asked about the defensive line. You had a year last year where you got those 70 sacks, most of them coming from that defensive line. What was it that held you back that held the team back this year that defensive line didn't perform like before?
Yeah, and this is thanks, Bob. This is what he had to say. I know you did. This is what he had to say.
I feel like we've had a long history of success here, building a team a certain way, and I think maybe there's some preconceived notions that we're just at the linebacker position, that we don't care who we play at linebacker, and again, our 2 Super Bowl teams over the last 6 years, linebacker play was good, from those guys. And I think, if anything, it's my belief in the players that we have, the young players that we have. I have a lot of belief, and I know Coach does as well, in Nakobe Dean, and so I believe in the player. I believe in the person. We lost 2 linebackers at that spot, 2 good players from our Super Bowl team. And we had Nakobe wait in the wings. We drafted him for that role. Obviously, it didn't work out perfectly for him this year. That doesn't change the belief we have in the player.
All right, on the surface, everything he said, I would expect, I guess. But the fact that he was unprompted and he decided to defend the linebacker tells you he's sensitive to that topic. He's sensitive to the fact that people go, you just go out there and you find anybody to play linebacker. Dude that looks jacked at Lowe's Home and Garden Center, do me a favor, play linebacker for us. So the fact that he has to get up there and defend and then actually say, well, I mean, they've actually played really well. If you look at the DVOA or whatever stat you threw out there, John, if you look at those stats,
EPA.
they've played really well. It just lacks self-awareness. And this topic isn't necessarily about the linebacking core because we all know that's a problem. But when the window is open, I don't need that. I don't need the guy running the show, the guy who's basically keeping a lame duck coach to just get coffee and answer my mail. I don't need that guy having a lack of self-awareness and the inability to go, yeah, I need to be better in this area. Because it was really troubling to me that he's unprompted defending a horrible position group, a position group that they have, in fact, ignored, a position group that they lucked out at the previous year that he spoke of when they got T.J. Edwards, an undrafted free agent, a position group where he loves to point out, we drafted Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, dude. You drafted him in the 3rd round. You drafted Davion Taylor in the 3rd. You haven't spent a 1st-round pick on a linebacker since the 70s. Like, the lack of self-awareness, and I've been a Howie defender, but the lack of self-awareness in that does not bode well for an organization that's looking to win a Super Bowl. You need to be incredibly self-aware. You need to acknowledge your mistakes. And what I just heard, reminds me of the Howie Roseman that goes, look, we have a lot of faith in Jalen Reagor and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and we redraft those guys for a reason, and we were expecting big things. That's what I heard.
What sticks out to me, following your point on this, in that quote, was like 4 or 5 words. So you guys know what it is? And it's a defense mechanism, much to what Pat was talking about. No. He prefaced it by saying, our linebackers were pretty good in 2 of the last 6 Super Bowls that we played. Okay, you guys can down me. We've been to 2 Super Bowls in 6 years. Drop the mic, drop the pen.
He starts mentioning the resume.
I'm out.
Yep.
Yeah, like that is, seriously, dude, like you can't. Now, the Nakobe D, this almost defines how we look at Howie Roseman's job. Loved him to death last year, right? It was, right, but let's say before that. Before last year started him, he's the guy that should be fired. They get to the Super Bowl, he makes the A.J. Brown trade, all that. Oh, my God, Howie's a god. He knows better than us. This year happens, questions abound. The Nakobe Dean thing is like a microcosm of this. Right now, we hate him on the Nakobe Dean thing. Like, what the hell are you looking at?
That you
what
just
are you talking
imposed
about?
him. Like, you just anointed him.
You are just throwing the holy water on him and saying that's our savior there. Hate him for it now. If Nakobe Dean comes in next year, is a formidable starting linebacker and gets through the season, and you say, oh, wow, and he's probably only get better.
Back.
Hey, way to go, Howie.
Look, and I'm not, I've defended Nakobe Dean quite a bit.
Sure.
I mean, on this show, I feel like I've defended him a lot in terms of like, hey, the book's still out on him. I mean, it hasn't been written yet, and we don't know. But I don't have a problem with him defending and saying we have a lot of faith in Nakobe Dean. But it's the defense of everything. It's that whole sound cut. I didn't notice the Super Bowl thing, but you want to talk about guys that have rabbit ears. Howie Roseman will be the first one to remind you how good he is. Like, he really gets sensitive to that. And I don't blame him. Like, I'm baby poop soft in a lot of areas, so I don't blame him for that.
No, that's true.
But he loves to, like, and it goes back to the fan that went down in Houston and had the sign of, like, how you're forgiven. It was half joking, but he's like, forgiven. I give you a Super Bowl. Like, F you, dude. Part of me loves that. But with this quote, like, you need to acknowledge that when you watch the AFC and NFC championship games, you saw a high play from linebackers. And if you're going to sit there and go, well, we got really good play from these guys. Yeah, but then you let them go. If they were so good, why didn't you, being a GM that loves to lock up young talent to team-friendly deals, why didn't you do that? You acknowledge that they played well, and then you tried to replace them with, Nicholas Morrows of the world, who got cooked. who would have like one good game and then 5 bad ones. You know, you did. Yeah, you tried to anoint Nakobe Dean. Like, I'm sorry, man, but if they played so well, you would have brought him back. You let Kaiser White walk away. Like, don't sit here and pat yourself on the back about finding these guys and then you let them walk and you don't replace them with anybody.
Well, also, too, don't go to a press conference and start answering questions that nobody asked.
Yeah,
like that was the most embarrassing thing for me. I have never seen that. So I honestly have never seen that.
I didn't listen to the press conference in its entirety. I came in and clicked all the cuts because we have a great team here that will cut up the press conference, so it takes all the fluff out. I'm wondering at what point that question got asked and he brought it up because I'm wondering if he's sitting there entering the press conference saying, I got to address this.
It was probably about 6 or 7 questions in.
Yeah, it was like 6 or 7.
So do you think he's sitting there going, all right, let me just get this out.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't ask me, I gotta get it out there. Like, our linebackers aren't nearly as bad as people are making them out to be. Yeah, they were, dude. They were horrible. Were they as bad as Nate Gary? No, probably not. All right, it wasn't Casey Matthews level bad, but it was bad. So if you want to be a Super Bowl contender and have that window open, the fact that this guy thinks that what he did was okay, that ain't it, man. You lucked out with TJ Edwards. This wasn't some miracle plan. You lucked out with him.
It's a good thing we didn't get to this topic until a week after they talked because you have a lot of emotion on it.
You were very excited about it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Like, I'm big on self-awareness. Like, look inward.
Well, there it is.
And
look inward.
He can't look inward with this.
Talk about looking inward. We have to look inward at ourselves. Retirements have a huge impact on us. And by the way, just another thing too. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith talked about the replacing the leadership of Jason Kelsey. So obviously they got told he was retiring.
Not yet.
So they let that out of the bag.
All right, it went from what did I up to yesterday?
7. Now you're back to 3.
It's down to 4.
Okay,
4% chance.
We want to talk about retirements and how those retirements hit you.
Are you hanging them up?
Right in the fields. No, I am not.
Bobby?
No.
Am I playing end of the road?
Never know.
Bobby.
For the documentary.
John Kincaid Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, the Bet Parks Casino and Sports.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Remember, First Friday is tomorrow. Whether you're listening on the radio, whether you're listening on the app, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you are coming in person to be part of our studio audience, we look forward to having you join us. Jim Curtin stops on by, Andrew DeCecco from Inside the Birds, and 97.5 The Fanatic. We will also have the fun of dealing with Ricky Batalico in the morning, which is always fun.
Yeah.
And also, too, Joe Watson, 80 years old, and I believe Pat did say he thought he could scrap with Joe Watson.
I wouldn't do that, Pat. Having seen Joe Watson's career, yeah, I wouldn't.
And seeing Joe just at the alumni game, looks like he could beat somebody's ass.
I think he could still go on. I got a text earlier today. We were talking about Bill Belichick being 72, and I said, maybe he wants to ease into things. Maybe he doesn't want to be in charge. And I was also talking about my high school basketball coach at one point.
Yes.
Who happens to be 72 also. So he sent me a text.
And what did he say?
He said, you sounded a tad disrespectful talking about 72-year-old guys today.
Uh-oh.
So I sent back to him, don't worry, at your age, you'll forget what I said by tonight. You think that was disrespectful?
I think that was a great answer.
The thing is, based in reality, probably.
Coach looks like he could still scrap with you, too, though.
I was just telling Andrew the first practice we had, I was a freshman. We had a huge freshman class, which was really good. He walked into the gym while we were doing calisthenics. There was a ball sitting underneath one of the baskets. He walked over, put down his pad and pen, picked up the ball, jumped straight up in the air, double clutched, and dunked the ball behind his head. And we were all like, oh, my God. Yeah. That's why his nickname was Skyman when he played at LaSalle. Yeah.
Hey, Justin joins us on the A.J. Brown story before we move on. Justin, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Hi. How's everyone doing?
Hey, good to have you on, Justin.
Awesome. Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up my view on this. And, my background in the military was actually in linguistics interrogation. So, looking at people's voice, inflections, body language to get a point. So when I was listening, I noticed he when the question was posed, he paused, and then, I'm summarizing, and then obviously he said, I'll be at the phone or I'll be here. I take that as a positive because in any stressful situation, whether you're using positive or negative tactics, if it ends on a positive note, you should take it as face value. And the reason I say that is that if he would have said, I'll be at the phone, this is out of my control, we'll see, then you have to say, okay, you know what? There's something happening. And we know in Tennessee this happened to him, and it seems like he did have some trauma because he wanted to possibly stay there if he got a contract, but then obviously he was traded here, which is a blessing. But I look at it that way. And then if I could relate it to radio, and we know in the business, people could be let go for various reasons, whether it's ratings or budget. Now, if someone were to be let go and they say, you know what, it was a great opportunity, I really enjoyed it, we'll see each other again, that's a positive note. Now, if they say, hey, I'm not going to be back.
Screw these people. Yes.
Yeah. So that's my view. And then also, why should he buy into the trading rumors for the simple fact that his contract is intact? And then also, he's built relationships and he's a quality, great player. So there's no reason to trade him. So, of course, he could have squashed everything, but that was just
that's what I don't understand, though, is that, and also, too, if you say again, Pat saying like, well, somebody else could have brought social media to him. I choose not to believe that he's off social media. He says he is, but he can sort of recite and answer chapter and verse to what people are saying. It's easy to just say, this is bull crap. I want nothing to do. This is ridiculous. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving the Eagles. And it would be all over and we wouldn't be talking about it today. And that's just, I just don't think it's, I always will say it, and Bob and I will get into sometimes when we're talking about people being interviewed and everything. It's not hard to answer some of these questions. It's not hard to shut things down and to answer them in a way that just shuts it down. There's no other, if he says, are you looking forward to catching footballs? Are you expecting to be catching footballs for the Eagles next year? Yes. That is exactly where I'm going to be. I'm under contract. I'm an Eagle. We got unfinished business. Then there's no follow-up questions. There's no more speculation. There's no more drama. There's no more. You shut the drama down. You got it in control in the palm of your hands. to just say it's over.
It's over anyway. It's over before it began. So
I'm not talking about. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Now, as I said, AJ and Devontae talking about filling the leadership void for Jason Kelce tells me that, yeah, Jason Kelce, they already know that they're not going to be able to count on Jason Kelce this year and that leadership void. But Bob, sometimes retirements hit as hard in a locker room as they do in a community.
Yeah, it was funny watching the Kelce documentary the other night. Way behind everybody else, and I apologize for that. But, yeah, it all ends. The big ribbon on the documentary is him at the end really struggling with what he's going to do, talking to other players, contemplating by himself, looking into a camera on his own saying, woke up yesterday and said, yeah, I'm done. Woke up today and said, am I? Can I be? So this is going to be a difficult retirement for the Eagles, for the fan base. I mean, Jason Kelce has a huge fan base. Like him or not, he has grown into all of that. So I'll ask you, what is a sports retirement that you remember that really kind of hit home to you? Now, one obvious one, John, I think to me and you was the Phillies are on the road. Guy hit the bleeder down the third base line. Mike Schmidt goes to get it and just can't. Guy's safe. After the game, Schmidt, doesn't play the next day, I believe. They come home. He announces his retirement in a tearful way.
I'm done. Just walking away on a random.
I realize I'm no longer the player I used to be and can't compete anymore. That's one that I remember because, that was the greatest baseball player I saw live growing up, the hometown guy. But do you have a sports retirement, whether it's locally, nationally, that kind of hit you, whether it be, damn, I can't believe I'm not going to see that guy play again. Or, a local guy that you're like, I just saw a great career.
It hit me, and just the way that it hit him. Watching the retirement of Donovan McNabb and saying, to me, Donovan McNabb was the greatest quarterback the Eagles had ever had. And so he gave me so many great moments. But I felt like his initial foray into being an Eagle, like he never lost that. He told me how appreciative he was in his words, but I didn't feel like there were so many different times in his actions and everything that he felt that the majority of people really did love you. And they did love what you brought to this city. And, yeah, you were heavily critiqued, as every Eagle quarterback has been before you and after you. And it hurt me a bit, because I thought he was such an awesome player for this franchise, the best quarterback I'd ever seen. And I felt like even in retirement, he never felt how much he was appreciated and how much he was respected.
That's
there was
good.
The chip on the shoulder. And so it sort of hurt me in a way, because I was a big fan.
Yeah. I don't even remember his retirement, to tell you the truth.
When he stepped away.
Speech.
It was when he came, even the 5 speech, Pat, which you reference sometimes, you'll play the, number 5 always love you. It was awkward. Like, to me, it just came off awkward.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at a guy like Dawkins, and when Dawkins came back to
number 5 will always love you.
It was just sort of awkward. The Dawkins thing, I felt the emotion. I felt the reality of it. How much he loved this city and how much he loved this team.
Yeah. I have another one. When Dr. J announced it was going to be his last year in the NBA, and every city gave him the send-off. L.A. gives him a rocking chair, and Boston tries to give him something that I think he wanted to throw in the floor and break. And then finally he's in the playoffs against Milwaukee. And, you have it in the back of your mind, oh, man, this. But then it's 15 seconds ago, and the Sixers are going to lose. And I remember where I was standing. I remember where I was, and I got a lump in my throat going, oh, my God, I'm never going to see this guy play basketball again.
Was that one of Barkley's first years?
Yeah, well, Doc was 88. Barkley was drafted 85. I believe Doc's last year was 88,
a couple years. They played a
couple years together. But I remember it hit me like a brick, looking and saying, wow. And, I'm a young kid.
Dr. J is not going again.
I'm never going to see him play again. That one hit me. That one hit me pretty good. Pat, you have one? Because you're kind of sentimental fool like that.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
wow.
I'm going to wait. I'll tell Bob on the side.
All right. I have a couple that come to mind. AI retiring was tough, man. I know, Bob, you were there for the press conference, but just hearing him get emotional and, even when he returned, I was at that game and he was shell of himself, and
Is that the Denver when he was at Denver?
No, I'm saying when he returned to Philly
to
after that stint with Memphis, like he was a shell of himself, and it was it was a ploy to kind of get people in the door, and but it worked, and he would show flashes every once in a while, and you'd see the old AI, but the body was just broken down, and it's funny because we talk about Groundhog Day with Joel Embiid. It's like Groundhog Day with Embiid in a lot of ways because of Iverson too, because we saw what happens when injuries just mount up, and it takes a guy's career. So that one hurt just because he was my first favorite player in the NBA that I was really cognizant of, aware of, and obsessed with, and it was AI. For football, it was Dawkins. Yeah, Dawkins. It still bothers me. I was walking J-Roll the other day, and Jack wanted to come along, and somehow we were talking about players in the NFL, and Brian Dawkins came up. Because we have a poster of Brian Dawkins in our hallway, and he asked, who, by the way, who is that guy? And I was explaining, bud, it makes me sad you'll never see that guy play football. It's just he's one of those guys that we're never getting another one. So that one really hurt. And when you realize, too, that he was never going to come back, because there was that hope when his contract was up with Denver that he would come back for one more year in Philly.
Yeah.
And when you realize it wasn't happening and he was going to retire a Denver friggin' Bronco, it was the grossest feeling in the world, and it still bothers me.
I thought Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins was different in the sense of he was kind of bouncing around a lot of teams.
Right.
He didn't give it up.
Yeah, people forget. He finished his career with the White Sox.
I did not even. Yeah. I couldn't even have won that on a bet.
I actually did know that. I think you and I have talked about that.
Yeah, so that was different. And same thing with Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard was such a shell of himself, trying to come back with Atlanta at one point. He signed a minor league deal there, and it was all right, man, it's just not happening. It's not in the cards. That was different, whereas I felt like Dawkins could still play, and that's what makes it different for me in a lot of ways. Iverson wasn't. Iverson couldn't still play, but just watching that press conference, it was damn. That dude got this city got him. He really cared. And you could tell he didn't want to walk away either. He had that stint in Turkey, if you remember, where he went over there and played a handful of games, but he just didn't have any more. And it sucked.
Two things on that. I did cover the Iverson press conference when he retired. He went on effusively about Aaron McKee. About, I wouldn't have lasted this long in the league if it wasn't for Aaron McKee. He was the adult I need. I knew they were friends. I knew, some history, but I remember running up to Comcast because Aaron was up there doing a show, on Iverson's retirement. And I was like, hey, listen, when you're done, I got to talk to you. And we sat and talked about what Iverson said, and I had included it in my story. The one Iverson thing was, Pat, when he came back, and I was covering the team then, they were playing the Lakers at home, John, this one time. So Iverson probably only had 10 more games left in him, but we didn't know it at that time. He has a really good first half. I mean, I think he went for 18, and it was whoa, look at that step back from the day. Second half starts, and I remember turning to, it may have been Rich Hoffman, I'm not sure. And I said, oh, boy, look at this. Kobe Bryant decides he's now covering Allen Iverson. Man, I'm telling you, it was like watching somebody put a cup over a bug. He could not go anywhere. And Kobe was like, you could almost read it. Kobe was like, man, hate to do this to you, bud, but nah, time's over.
You're not doing it tonight.
This is my time. And that's when I thought, oh, geez, this is getting close to the end. And that was a sad one there. There must be somebody in the back of my mind, John, and you can help me with this. I think I'm thinking of wasn't there beloved announcers that I have a feeling there was somebody behind a microphone who called their last game and then
Gene
said
Hart.
Goodbye, and it really.
Back
no, I
in the
thought
day.
it was Gene Hart's a great one. I thought it was a
Vince
national.
Scully? Vince Scully walking away sucked,
it might have been Vince Scully, yeah.
And his ability to intertwine stories with play-by-play, which I think he'd struggle with doing it now with the pitch clock. But I'm not a Dodgers fan, but that dude is a baseball legend, and his stories will pop up on Twitter every once in a while. Him talking about recently, it was one probably a month ago where he was breaking down middle of the game, right, and he's not really missing a pitch, but he's breaking down. Hearing about the Dodgers trying out this young 17-year-old kid named Sandy Koufax, and he came back in and said, "Yeah, he doesn't have it because he had a tan." That was his logic. Was he's spending too much time on the beach, And Vin ended the story with saying, and that was the end of my scouting career. Like it was, and that guy had seen it all too. And when you see those guys, and I think Vin was still calling it at a high level, but I'm sure you ask Dodgers fans, they might say different. But he's a legend. And for him to walk away when we see, I think all of us could probably name a bunch of guys that need to hang it up but haven't. It was sad, but in a way it was like, all right, good for you. Good for you of walking away on your own terms.
I remember first athlete I ever said that about. I watched him and I go, oh my God, would you please retire? Because I adored this guy and he took my fandom to where it was in boxing. And that was Muhammad Ali. And when he just stayed on too long and you see him get in the ring and you're like, oh my God, you're fat. And oh my God, you're slow. And please don't let that Larry Holmes beat you up like that. Like that was when you watched him in his prime, man. That hurt. And I remember just almost being in tears because I was a little kid and I loved boxing. And I like almost being in tears, like, please don't let this happen to him.
Watching Steve Carlton go out the way he did, too, for when I was a kid.
Talk about bouncing around to teams.
I mean, just hard up for money. He got embezzled from and needed support. And just like the guys sticking on. Like one of the things, too, which now with Reebok. Well, Shaq taking over as the role as the president of basketball for Reebok. And part of his deal was Iverson comes with him back in there. These guys, a lot of them, I think that don't find their way in retirement. And then I know that Allen's had struggles in retirement, and Shaquille and him have really struck up a brotherhood. Like, hey, he's coming along with me. We're getting him involved in this.
It's cool to see the mutual respect for the veterans for each other. I mean, I think the NBA is really like the biggest one where I look at and go like, man, they look out for each other no matter if it was a bench player or a star. And you see that with a lot of the podcasts that are popping up. It's like there will be like an all-star and his co-host is, some journeyman who's been in there for 7, 8, 9 years, had a decent career, and you remember the name, but wasn't a star necessarily. And it's cool to see. I mean, the mutual respect of Iverson and Kobe had for one another. When Kobe was alive, talking about just how he looked up to Iverson and their battles together. When you look back on it, man, it is cool. Like that they'll look out for each other. They see a guy, and the Delonte West situation is a prime example of that, of the NBA community, rallying around a guy who was really going through tough times and saying like, no, man, like we're not letting you go through this alone. Like we got your back.
I thought it's every time talk about getting the feels for not a retired player, but a retired player, but who ended up leaving too soon when you bring up Kobe. Whenever I see that video, and it pops up around this time every year, when I see Kobe Bryant carrying his baby daughter around the living room and dancing when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and how much that meant to him. It's just like it's these because sometimes we don't know. We think we'll have legends around forever.
Yeah.
We think we'll have them there forever.
And I think part of the bond that players get with each other, and I've talked about this before, we casually look as fans, followers, whatever, robotically at players and say, oh, yeah, 35, he's done. He can go count his money. They all know how hard that is. We talk about retirement when we get to be 70 or something like that. Oh, it'll be good. We can do that, hopefully. These guys have to stop doing – now, a lot of people work. They don't have professions. They work because they have to, so they can't wait for retirement. These guys, professionals, are doing something they love and have loved doing since they were probably 8 and 10 years old. And then at 35, which I don't care how old you are out there, 35 is young, to have to say, yeah, I can't do that anymore. That's hard, man.
Yeah, I remember, God, he must have been like mid-40s, 45-year-old Chris Chelios going, yeah, I'll ride the bus in the AHL.
Yeah, did he play for the Chicago minor league
team?
Chicago
Wolves. Yeah, and they were the minor league team of the Thrashers at the time, and I think he did get some time with the Thrashers.
Yes.
But, he played overseas as well. Like, he didn't, and I couldn't blame him. If you want to play in the AHL and you want to be a mentor and do all that, but just to stay in the locker room and stay in the game, yeah, man, like it's not easy to have a kid's game ripped from you.
Well, you see
what you've been doing since you've been, you're probably 5, 6 years old and you've dedicated your life to.
Right.
You like him in studio?
He's okay.
I think he's okay.
Yeah,
I don't mind him at all.
No, I think he's okay.
I kind of like him, yeah.
But like some sports, like football, is a good. Like hockey, if you're a former player, you can continue to play after you're 45, retired, right? Like you can find some men's league, beer league, shinny, something, right? Like football, I feel bad for because those guys can't play. Like, there's no pickup. There's no flag football like we're 10 years old anymore. Basketball, they probably still have some runs, but baseball's similar. Like, when you're done, you're done.
When you guys were working with Trey, were you seeing Trey have getting up from chairs, walking around? Because I look at a guy like even Brian Finneran, who I work very closely with down south. As a wide receiver in the NFL for 12 years, and some mornings he would just be like, "It's not coming this morning." He'd be working on his knee or he'd be working on something, and I'd be like, and he looks like $1 million, but his body's like, "Oh man,
yeah,
I'm just not feeling it today."
Like last summer, John Runyon went to get out of his golf cart to come over and say hello when we saw each other, and just watching him get out of a golf cart and walk over. And, he's lost a lot of weight and he's doing everything he can. But, man, those guys.
Lower back stuff. And
ankle. He's got bad ankle and all. Trey, every day. Trey and I sat on a beach one time, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of the story, but he and I were on the beach. I had rented a house for a week and invited everybody down. Him and his family came down for a day. And he and I sat and talked for a good time about injuries and all the stuff that he went through and still goes through as a player. And it was, I don't want to say it was haunting because Trey's a happy guy and a great, great guy. And but it's a hard job. Let's put it that way that he had.
It's weird is that I have a friend in the industry, Dustin Fox, out of Cleveland, who played for the Eagles, in fact. Was an Eagle for a couple.
You had his jersey, right, Pat?
Did you have a? You didn't have a Dustin Fox.
I did not have a Dustin Fox jersey. I apologize.
He's having, but he does what we do for a living in Cleveland, and he's really struggling right now with some post-concussion stuff from his career. A college champion at Ohio State and everything, and he literally yesterday just said, "Hey, I'm stepping away from my job. I need to try to take care of my." What's going on? He's a young man. He looks like he could wrestle an alligator today, and he's really struggling with it. And I just had to reach out yesterday and be like, "Hey, I'm thinking of you," and everything like that.
Good for you,
because it's not an easy thing. No. I mean, these guys walk away, and it's been a brutal journey. So we bring it to the end of the show with the brutal journey that Joel Embiid has taken. And it's another storyline that we're waiting for. And obviously all day long on your flagship station for the Philadelphia 76ers, 97.5 The Fanatic, we'll be watching, waiting, hoping to hear something on Joel Embiid. They'll play the Jazz tonight. You'll hear the game right here on the Fanatic. But it's the injuries have mounted, and it hasn't just been the Embiid story, even though it just becomes the Embiid story. There's a lot of injuries right now for this team. And they got to get some traction. This is a terrible spin on this road trip.
Yeah, and here's something worse about it. I brought up before, man, is that 70-point effort going to have some effect going down the line? I don't know if it did or not. I was a little bit worried about that. But I wonder with Embiid being out and Maxey. You got Patrick Beverley playing 30, 35 minutes a night. You got Marcus Morris out there 25, 28, 30 minutes a night. They're doing this on a West Coast trip in consecutive games. I wonder about, all right, what's that going to do to affect them moving down the line? Now, for a Jaden Springer, for a Kelly Oubre, all right, this is good. You're getting some extra minutes. That's okay. But to the older guys that you're going to have to rely on for 18 to 23 minutes a night, having to put in 25 to 30 now on a West Coast trip, I just wonder if that takes its toll down the line, and I hope it doesn't for that team.
I hope it doesn't. And we're gonna be watching the story. Obviously, this is going to be a very difficult time for right now for Daryl Morey. He's on the clock. It's a week from today. We're 7 days to the trade deadline. Now it's going to be I think 3:00 in the afternoon next Thursday, right during the best show ever. They've got to come up with a plan. Not the best show ever. They'll have a plan. But the idea is, what does Daryl Morey do? What does he do? Do you go and does the uncertainty, if there is uncertainty about what Joel Embiid, when he could come back or how he's going to be hampered after this timeout, how much does it affect your plan leading to the trade deadline? I'm sure it's going to be the major topic of discussion for us.
Yeah,
for the next week.
When we were at the Sixers Gala last week or 2 weeks ago, I asked Daryl that direct question. With these injuries that you have, and I was talking more DeAnthony Melton back then, let alone Joel, but with the injuries that you've had, not being able to see this full team the way Nick Nurse envisioned it, does it kind of screw you up a little bit of how you want to move forward? And he basically was like, yeah, a little bit, but you have a game plan anyway. And I was kind of like, okay. I'd rather have a game plan knowing what my team is about than speculating what they're about.
But you have a game plan anyway. I guess you have to have one of two ways to look at it. You
probably have 10 game plans. You know what I mean? And then if this happens, that. If that happens, this. So people in that business are far ahead of anything we can think of right now.
I honestly, right now, I don't know what I would do if I was Daryl Moore. I don't know what I'd do. Would I be thinking this is the year to go all in? Do I save the assets and try to do something more in the offseason? Whatever it is, there's going to be a lot of questions. And, of course, we'll be all over it as your flagship station coming up all next week as we count to it. But when word comes out on Joel Embiid, you'll hear it here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Tomorrow morning, we will have our first Friday broadcast, and we thank the folks from Ember's Smokehouse and Tap in Chalfont. They'll be bringing out your breakfast for you. We'll have coffee. We'll get you ready. If you're in the studio audience, if not, grab your own cup of coffee and just stay tuned. We'll be looking forward to it. Or beers. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, Paul B. Moyer and Sons. Got to get out and swing the clubs with those guys in the spring. And make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AAC.